My sister and her husband died. I am the godfather. We are dinks no more. I haven't worked in a decade and will be returning to workforce soon. Title says it all. My sister and her husband died. I was the godfather and never really imagined or thought about it beyond essentially a single quick conversation 6 years ago. My wife and I have been fired for almost a decade. We are far from wealthy, do very little, but I wouldn't change it for the world. Well, now a 6 and 3-year-old are in our life. I could probably get by not working, but my wife insists I go back to work to provide more economic security in our situation. Currently little over 1 5-year investments, a paid-off house, but we need to either extend or upgrade to accommodate an additional room, and we are both 47 years old. I'll be honest, going back to the office scares me. Reporting and emailing makes me nervous, and I doubt I can assimilate. I am thinking something stable, like teaching, and get 3 months off or join my buddy's HVAC business. I figure we already live on about 40K a year, so if I can make 50K or so, we can get by while my savings builds up. If my math is right, I can put in 15 years and retire again, all while having some economic stability for the kids. Anyone have experience retiring and going back to work? How was it, and any tips? Comments, Commenter 1, I am so sorry for the loss of your sister. Not sure if you are in the US, but wanted to remind you that they should be eligible to receive survivor benefits from SSA. Commenter 2. Going to work is tough, but losing your parents at 6 and 3 is a different level. You're a good person and an incredible uncle to take care of them, and I wish you the best. Commenter 3, don't go back right away. Those kids just lost their world. Get them settled in your household with a routine and therapist before going back to work. Commenter 4, I'd highly discourage you from classroom teaching if you dislike the thought of reporting and emailing. 3 months off is pretty much a myth. There is a reason that, despite the narrative that teaching is an easy job with lots of time off, so many people leave the profession within 5 years. I say this as someone who lasted over a decade and was objectively very good at it. It's not worth it. I'm sorry for the loss of your sister. Grief-stricken kids will need a lot of support. And while you yourself grieve and adjust, stories number 2. Bride wants advice and opinions and then keeps getting mad. I'm a bridesmaid in my friend's wedding in June. Some backstory. My friend is currently in university and has an upcoming medical school interview. So she's been very stressed since she got engaged in the summer. She has had no idea what she wanted to do for colors. I and the other bridesmaid suggested she order some swatches from Azazi so she could start building a color palette. At Christmas time, she still hadn't determined her colors, but she wanted to go shopping for her flowers at a local silk florist. Originally, she wanted to design her own bouquet, but before even going shopping for those flowers, she ordered $400 worth of flowers from Temu, all of which she isn't using now. Now that she has her flowers picked out, she still can't come to a decision on colors for her bridesmaids' dresses. She originally wanted to get dresses from Park and Fifth, so she went to the store and tried them on herself and loved them. Her sister, who was her maid of honor, hated all of the dresses because of the style, form-fitting, and silk. This past weekend, I got a text from the bride to show me the colors she had chosen. There was a dusty lilac, agave, yellow, blue, and a peach. She asked which color I would feel comfortable wearing. I said any color she wanted me to wear, I'd more than happily wear. She then said that wasn't a good enough answer and that she wanted my opinion. I said again that any color would be good. So she picked purple for me, and that was good enough by me. She has said to us bridesmaids multiple times that we can pick whatever dress we want as long as we're comfortable. But then she asked me to send her the top dresses I liked so she could pick. I agreed and sent her the ones I liked. She asked out of all of them which was my favorite, so I told her, and then she said that it wasn't hers and she preferred a different one. I said to her that I wouldn't be as comfortable in that one if that's what she was concerned about, but I would wear it happily. She asked for some time to think about it, and she would get back to me. About an hour later, she was freaking out after thinking she found her bridesmaid dress colors, and then realizing they didn't look good with her flowers. So she asked for advice, and I said if she went with her gut and stuck to only agave, it would look beautiful with her other color navy. But then she said she should have simplified her flowers if she wanted bright colors. It became a whole thing, and she can't change her flowers now because she already has them. I also explained to her that out of 1,000 photos her photographer will take, 15 will be with her bridesmaids, and also her photographer has a very muted style, so that'll also change the colors in a picture. Then all of a sudden she flips a switch while I'm telling her that all of these ideas are all very pretty and will work. She then says, I think agave is the way I want to go. I think it'll look great on everyone. And I'm not asking this time. I'm just to be telling. At that point I was so confused because she wanted our opinions as to which color we liked. Only 2 of the bridesmaids got to pick what they liked. I told her I would wear anything. Then she said that she doesn't want to come across as pushy, and I told her she wasn't being pushy. Finally, I asked if she was looking for opinions, or for us to tell her that we didn't like the color she wanted us to wear. It's her wedding, but she is so wrapped up in what other people will think that it's inhibiting her to make a decision. I said the only thing that's making her sound pushy is when she tells us we can wear whatever dress we want, but she wants to pick the dress. I explained that if she wants us to feel comfortable, that's not how you go about that. At that point, her fiancé texted the other bridesmaid to tell her to, casually, mention to me that I was being rude and that the bride was incredibly offended that I didn't like her favorite dress, because I liked my favorite dress, but the bride never communicates when she's offended about something. It ended up being a whole thing, and I later apologized to her for coming across as aggressive. But I also said to her if she's seeking opinions and advice, she can't keep getting mad when someone gives her advice or opinions. Bear in mind, for my wedding, this girl is also my bridesmaid, and told me the dresses I wanted for bridesmaids were ugly, and she wouldn't do her hair how I wanted it done. She later tells me she won't kick me out of the wedding and that my opinions and advice are incredibly valuable to her. But every time she asks for my opinion, she just gets mad at me. So I've determined she's seeking validation and just wants everyone to agree with her all the time. That's my Bridezilla story. This is incredibly exhausting to me. Some relevant comments. Commenter 1. Whatever you were doing before isn't working too well. If you are having this much stress now, then maybe you need to speak to the bride and see if you should just come as a guest. She'll probably freak out, but your mental health is your first priority. Not a wedding. Reply. I fully agree with you. I had a very similar situation a little more than a year ago, and the bride and groom ended up kicking me out of the wedding party. I've been told that I'm very blunt, and that comes from years of working with only men. So I see the world as black and white and yes or no, no ifs, ands, or buts. It just is what it is. My boyfriend has also helped me not care what others think anymore. I would feel terrible telling her that I don't want to be a bridesmaid, but in some sense, I think she's also upset because my boyfriend and I just finished designing my engagement ring, and in her world, she's the only one who can be engaged at a time. Her sister got engaged shortly after her, and she texted me being all salty about it, and I told her that it's not the end of the world. There can be more than one bride in this world. She didn't like that, but I didn't know what else to say to her. In another way, we're often competing about things, but that's what girls do. But everything my boyfriend and I do, she wants to do with her fiancé, but he isn't interested. Her fiancé has also made more comments than necessary about how pretty I am, or that my boyfriend is incredibly lucky to have me. So he gives me weird vibes sometimes. Commenter 2. You need to learn to turn into the skid with people like this. You can validate her feelings. She was hoping to be the only bride, and she's frustrated at her sister because her expectation doesn't match reality. That doesn't mean that she should act on these feelings, but she just wants to be seen. Yes, bride. It must be frustrating having your family's attention and energy split. This is a really great tactic to take with toddlers also. BTW, show her that you see her, but don't validate her acting on these feelings. Reply. Another great point. Thank you. Sometimes I feel like I need to react to her issues like she is a toddler. She's also 22. And I'm almost 25, so our age differences and the fact that I'm second youngest in my family and she's the oldest really shows how we deal with conflict. Sounded like the bride was unsure of herself and kept changing the rules for the wedding. Reply. Oh, for sure. I don't know fully how she was raised, but her parents I know didn't raise her to have so many issues making decisions. Even the week before her boyfriend proposed, she was talking about how she wasn't ready to get married, and sometimes I think she needs to think about that again. She wasn't ready, but the diamond got flashed in front of her and it was her moment. She never told her boyfriend she wasn't ready, and he should have known that because she's caused so many issues. Commenter 3. Girls and good friends. Regardless of sex, don't compete. They lift each other up and support each other. Anyway, if I were you, I'd drop out. It's only going to get worse from here, my God. 500 words about flowers? I can't wait until she has to choose the food. Reply. I just feel like since the day we met, it was always competition. I went on birth control. She had to go on birth control, but she was too lazy to remember to take her pill. She was fine taking Plan B and rubbing that in my face because my boyfriend and I decided we wanted to wait until marriage now. We bought a camper, Now she wants a camper so bad, so she can renovate it like we're doing to ours. And she can tell me that it's not that much work. It's a lot of work when it's too cold to work on it outside and you work full time. Sometimes I think our friendship is more forced. My other friends that are true and genuine friends, I never feel like we're competing for things. When they get married, it's the best time ever. They have kids. And it's amazing. Oh, for food, it was decided 2 days after they were engaged. Hot dogs. Commenter 4 JFC, why are you still entertaining this bullshit? I couldn't even finish the post because the bride is so annoying. Just don't go to the wedding with people like her. Friendships often end with the wedding. I had a pick-me bridesmaid. I didn't care about the dress. Just keep it a lighter color or anything else about their looks. She insisted on getting a skin-tight wedding dress for her bridesmaid dress, and I just uninvited her the day of. I told her I didn't need her drama anymore, as she has always behaved like this. Never spoke to her again. My other bridesmaid got married a few years later. She was furious that her wedding she planned in 2 months was 2 days after I was scheduled to give birth. I wasn't her bridesmaid. I don't really talk to anyone from my wedding. They either died or got married themselves and split off from the friend group. No animosity, except for Tina. We just grew apart right away. Reply, in a way, I feel like I have to entertain it because this is my boyfriend's cousin who is getting married, so I don't want to burn bridges in a family. But yeah, honestly, this just adds to reasons I hate weddings. I have an update on the bride who wanted opinions and got mad her bachelorette happened. This weekend, the bride had her bachelorette party. We're from Manitoba, so it's the bridal party's job to plan and pay for the bride to attend. The weekend began on Friday at 7 p.m. We all drove to the bride's condo where her and 2 of the other bridesmaids live. We went to activate and had a blast. We came back after that and had snacks and drinks and did a lingerie shower for the bride. Ended with some games and went to bed. Saturday was where crap hit the fan. We went for brunch in the morning and then went on a pedal pub. The bride decided it would be a fantastic idea to order 2 punch bowls margarita and mojito at the first location, and she had about 15 cups of it. She was drunk by our first stop, but her Bach, she can enjoy herself. Then we had 2 other stops where she continued to drink, and then some of the girls wanted a sangria tower and all hated it, but had to drink it anyways. The walk back to the vehicles was slow for the bride. We asked if she'd be okay and ready to go to a Mexican restaurant for 8. She said yes, so we continued on. Then the bride started puking. The friend driving had to pull over 4 times for the bride to puke. Some of us suggested maybe ordering pizza, getting into comfy clothes, and watching movies instead of going to this Mexican restaurant that would turn into a club at 10 p.m. The bride refused and ended up passing out on the bathroom floor back at her condo. I had to go get her some electrolytes. She also puked 2 more times at home. We ended up getting ready to leave for the restaurant over an hour later than planned because of the bride passing out. Not a big deal. Now keep in mind, the bridesmaid that planned most of this bachelorette trip is pregnant, and in her first trimester and was dealing with a terrible cold as well. So we got to the restaurant, and the bride was angry that it was their late-night menu because it was after 9 p.m. She also didn't want to drink anything. This is important to know for the rest of the story. So we ate some appetizers and waited for the restaurant to turn into a club. Now, the girls that were there for her all didn't know we were clubbing except for 2 of them. So when we heard about this, some girls were confused. So 10 p.m. rolled around and the dance floor opened. The only things the bride wanted to do on her bachelorette weekend was get drunk and dance. But she wouldn't dance until 12 a.m. at that point. She had made the entire group annoyed because we drove all the way to this place that she loves, just for her to not want to dance. Out of 9 girls, 6 of us all hate clubbing, but we were all there to do what she wanted. So her sister, who is her maid of honor, explained to her that if she wasn't going to dance, we would be leaving. It took another half hour of getting the bride out on the dance floor, and at this point, the bridesmaid who planned everything was nauseous from the smell of vaping and needed to go outside, and she asked me to come with her. That's when she started crying. I asked her what was wrong, and the bride, who is this bridesmaid's future sister-in-law, had said to another girl that she just wanted me and her to leave because we weren't even dancing with her when we had danced a bunch. But the pregnant one was cramping, tired, and nauseous and felt that everything she was doing wasn't good enough for the bride. At the end of it all, we left at 1:30 a.m. Everyone was mad at the bride for making such a scene, and then of all things, wanting to go clubbing and not even get tipsy. She wasted everyone's time and wasn't grateful for anything that was planned for her. She complained the entire time and made all of us feel horrible for trying to plan something fun. Now that this weekend is done, we're counting down for when her wedding is over. This has been a crap show. Relevant comments, commenter 1. I think y'all should just not take her seriously at all and do what makes you happy. That B doesn't care for you, so why should you care for her? Reply. At this point, I don't give a royal crap about anything for her wedding. She says one thing, then another thing, and has zero respect for those who are there for her. She is having a social 2 weeks before their wedding, and it goes from 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. due to medication I take for migraines. I cannot stay until that time and drive myself home safely because my meds make me sleepy. So, I told her that she wasn't happy and I don't really care. I also hate wedding socials, clubbing, all of those things. She has no respect for those of us with limits. OP explains what a wedding social is. Reply. A Manitoba thing where you have tickets that people can buy, and at the social, they can buy drinks and tickets for prizes, and all of that money goes to the bridal couple. A Manitoba way of saying get drunk and give us money. Commenter 2. Honestly, it sounds like this woman is about to lose all of her friends because she can't communicate, doesn't appreciate anyone's efforts to try to figure out what she wants, and then shuts down and blames them instead of taking accountability. Best of luck with the wedding, since I'm sure you've all paid for dresses and everything. But know it is possible for you to still drop out if you want to, and I think it'd be justified. Reply. She is becoming quite the piece of work. She is in my wedding as well, and she's been quite difficult to deal with. But she's on a short leash with me. I don't want to kick her out of my wedding party, because I was kicked out of one that was in the family, and that caused a lot of issues, so I don't mind having her there so long as she has some respect for those around her. She will get told that she can't get hammered. Commenter 3. Good Lord. Between the wedding flower and this, how are you friends? Reply. Honestly, I'm trying to chop it all up to be the stress she had with trying to get into medical school. She didn't end up getting in, but she texted me earlier this week to ask if we could have a conversation to clear the air because she felt there was tension. I explained to her that she had been very disrespectful and ungrateful. She didn't respect the fact that no matter how many times I explained, my medication makes me very sleepy, so it's hard to stay up late. The most recent time I explained this to her again was the Friday of her bachelorette party. She came back to me and said that she didn't understand the specifics of why I took medication, but she would have been willing to come to a mutual agreement had she known. That just straight up ripped me, because I have now explained this to her 3 times in a span of a week, and each time, she claims I've said nothing, and I have the text to prove it. Well, those of you who have stuck around for the wedding from hell after the bachelorette from hell, here's some more. The wedding from hell is this Saturday, and the groom texted the pregnant bridesmaid this to pass along to the rest of us. I have 0 words. Check out my profile for the other parts of this story. Who would even send this? What the actual heck? Screenshot of text messages. Transcripts of the group text messages. OP explains who was talking maid of honor. Time and we'll all make sure bride has a blast. Reply. It basically just transpired overnight, so we're all sort of pivoting to make it work. Bridesmaid. I was under the impression, redacted, had brought this up as she had told me this was the plan a while back, and let me know yesterday things had changed. Groom. Going forward, if anything else comes up, could we just make sure there's a bit more communication? This is my and Redacted's first time being part of a Canadian wedding party. So we want to make sure we're doing everything right to ensure Redacted's wedding lives up to everything she dreamed of. This was not brought up with us. At least not in a way that we understood. But it's okay. Now we're all on the same page. Reply. This is my first time being in a wedding too. Part of it is a lot of last-minute things. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. The bride absolutely wrote this so the groom could send it. Reply. Oh, I think so too. This is such disgusting and childish behavior. This is 100% directed at me because I'm getting married in October, and the bride has mentioned that she gave me permission to get married in the same year, and I should be grateful. Commenter 2. Wait, he sent this to his pregnant sister? The one who planned this girl's entire bachelorette party. Thoughtfully, I might add. Only to be treated like shit? The bride's F-sil? JFC, this bride sucks. Reply, that's right. Now we're all supposed to stay the night with the bride too. I was looking for every excuse in the dang book to not spend the night. I was planning on having a quiet morning before the mess, and go for a walk to clear my head. Drink coffee, and now it's not going to happen. IDK, what to do? I was even going to do a speech to be nice. But I literally have nothing nice to say. And I'm the one bringing 3 mirrors and 2 huge coolers for them to borrow for drinks at the wedding, and I'm ready to forget them all. Commenter 3. Yeah, the text is requesting for people to focus on her wedding for the next 2 days so she can have her moment. A moment is a brief time, I think technically 90 seconds. But I won't be particular here. Not 2 entire self-absorbed days. And that probably on top of weeks if not months of similar demands and displays of self-absorption. Reply, it's just the part, so for the next 2 days, I don't care if you want to get married, or are getting married, or are married or anything, please, please for us. For the next 2 days can we just keep this about the bride's wedding so she can have her moment, is what really rips my gitch. This is directed at me 100%. She has hated that we ended up getting engaged and are getting married in the same year as her. Her maid of honor is her sister, and she's getting married in August. So you can only imagine what the dynamic in her family is currently like. Here's the wedding update you have all been waiting for. The day began on Friday, after a bunch of thinking. It wasn't worth the fight with the bride to not stay the night, so I stayed. 2 of her bridesmaids tried to make the excuse that it would make more sense for them to drive an hour and a half back home and then come back for 8 a.m. the next day. So we bullied them into staying, even though they tried to say they wouldn't sleep good. Well, it didn't matter if we didn't have a good sleep because it wasn't our wedding. We got up what felt like bright and early on Saturday morning after getting into bed at 1 a.m. and we hit the ground running. Hairstylist showed up at 8, and that began the getting process. We only technically had to be ready for around 3 p.m. But with 6 girls to get their hair done, it does take time. Anyways, we had brunch, got our hair done, and watched the bride battle with doing her own makeup and her eyelashes not cooperating with her burgundy mascara. I just laughed. I was in the process of putting false eyelash clusters on and doing my own makeup to really invest in her issues. She was being incredibly critical of everyone's makeup, telling them to blend more, bronze more, and make it super glow. This bride didn't gift anyone anything, except her sister, whom she bought shorts and a sweater from Aretiza. I was a little confused. But maybe not giving your bridal party anything to thank them for going through hell with you is normal. Her parents also don't like to use air conditioning. So the temperature in the house was so bad, 26 degrees Celsius, editor's note, approximately 79 degrees, and we were in shorts and hoodies as requested by the bride. Then, about 15 minutes before the photographer arrived, the bride sent me and another bridesmaid to go and get the wedding bands and other small details from the groom, because she forgot about flat lay shots, so we rushed to the groom's house to go and get those things, and we made it back with a few minutes to spare. During the rush of everything going on, the bride was still finishing her vows. We eventually went outside for the bride to have a private moment with her mom to put her dress on and do her first look with her dad. That's when things continued to drag on. The bride was freaking out and panicking through it all. Then we did our first look with her, got her back inside and prepped to do her first look with her soon-to-be husband. And then things started to fall even further behind. We at that point needed to be at the wedding ceremony location for 5 p.m. for bridal party photos, and the bride and groom only showed up for 5:30. At this point, we were running around trying to make sure last-minute things were in place. We started to learn and hear about things that had gotten lost in the midst of moving things under the cover of the tent in case the potential rain came overnight. The guys were sent to the ceremony location the morning of to put everything back, and the bride should have known that things were going to get lost if there wasn't anyone there to make sure they got the location of items right. She had a friend as her day of coordinator, and that person should have been there. The first thing lost was the guest book. It was placed into a box, and then put off where no one knew where it went. We ended up finding it about 10 minutes before the ceremony. Then when we were trying to find the pens, the bride said she ended up losing them, and we had to find something else. We were on a farm, with no house on it, nothing, and every pen and Sharpie we tried didn't work. Then we lost all of the decorations like flowers that were supposed to go on the guest book table. Then came wedding party photos. We started with the girls, and I noticed a dark spot on the bride's dress in a few places and realized it was blood, so I said something to the bride, and that's when crap hit the fan. The bride's period had started. This is where I had to laugh, because I knew this would happen. Because our cycles have been always 1 week apart, and I just had mine. So obviously panic set in for her and we had to fix this. So we rushed her to the porta potties to help her fix things. We used double-sided sticky tape and safety pins to get things covered because she didn't want to use a Tide-to-Go pen. Then the groom started yelling at me to go and get safety pins, and I had zero idea where those were. And someone came with a few. This is why you make a wedding day emergency kit. We eventually fixed the situation, and we were already behind with the bride and groom needing to start family photos. We continued to run around even more. And then the bridal party started to get hungry. Both the bride and the groom said they would be giving us supper, and they didn't give us any, so you can only imagine after being in the heat all day and only having brunch, you get a little hungry later in the evening, so no supper. And it quickly moved to 7 p.m., and it was time to start the ceremony, and we had to get the bride's veil back in, after she took it out for bridal party photos. And I gave it to her dad with the bobby pins to put it back in the camper that was on the yard. And he lost the bobby pins, so another bridesmaid took a bunch out of her hair to secure the veil. Then, while we were waiting to all go out, the bride was pissed about how the bottles of wine and water were arranged on the tables and started to yell at us to rearrange it all. And she was also MIA for 20 minutes before this, and we eventually found her freaking out in the camper. The ceremony began. It went well. No one fainted, thank goodness. But I thought the bride would, after she had only had a sip of water all day, and almost no food. Then, we all stayed until 3 a.m. to make the couple happy. The disorganization of so many aspects of this wedding was enough to blast me into orbit. Being yelled at by the groom to bring safety pins when I had no idea where they were was horrible. Some of her bridesmaids were useless and just kept sitting down instead of helping with things that were needed. The groom was also calling the bride a bunch of times during the morning because he didn't know where things went, and it made her freak out. But we couldn't tell him to quit it. So glad this wedding is over. Finally, the bride is going to continue working towards her master's and will be living an hour and a half away from her husband during the week for the next 6 years. She will also keep trying to get into medical school during this time. So, I'm not quite sure how you have a successful marriage when you only see each other 2 days a week. But she wants to keep living with her roommates, and her husband doesn't want to move to be close to her and have the opportunity to actually live together. Fixed wedding update. Call me what you want. But we tried to support the bride the best we could, and the bride was happy everyone stayed with her for night. It wasn't about us. It was about the bride. Deleted my last post. We're trying this again. Here's the bullet point list of the wedding day from hell. After setting up for the wedding in the blistering heat, being eaten alive by flies and mosquitoes, we managed to convince the 2 bridesmaids coming from an hour and a half out of town to stay. The maid of honor, pregnant bridesmaid, and myself all decided to stay for the night, because it would mean a lot to the bride. If a pregnant bridesmaid can sleep on an air mattress, so can the rest of us. We explained it would be comfy for all of us, especially the pregnant one, but if it made the bride happy, we were happy to support her in that way. And then we all could sleep in. Hair began at 8 a.m. The bride's parents do not like to use air conditioning, so the temperature in the house was 26 degrees Celsius. Our hair all fell, the frizz was insane for some, and we were all very uncomfortable in our hoodies the bride wanted us to wear. The bride didn't give anyone except her sister, who was her maid of honor, a gift for being in the wedding party. Typically you do give something, but when you spend $5,000 on your flowers, I can see why you don't have money for much else. The only food we had all day was brunch. The bride and groom didn't give us any supper, so we were a little hungry. And it was a dessert wedding. We pigged out on the late-night snack of hot dogs later on in the night. We did our own makeup. The bride was incredibly critical of everyone except me, because I looked professional done. Her mascara wasn't working the way she wanted it to. Ended up causing her to have a freak-out session. The bride didn't finish her vows until 5 minutes before her, and her husband did them privately. That created an unnecessary amount of panic in her all morning. The groom kept calling her the morning of to freak out about where things went at the ceremony location. Things were moved under the tent in case rain came overnight, and the groom and groomsmen had to put it all back the morning of and lost a bunch of things. 15 minutes before the photographer arrived, the bride realized she wanted flat lay detail shots, so we had to rush to the groom's house to get his cologne and wedding bands. We were then told to get into our dresses and then spend well over an hour outside while the bride put on her dress with her mom. So the second photographer took a bunch of different pictures with us bridesmaids, which ended up being a lot of fun. First looks happened, tears were shed, then the bride and groom started to run incredibly far behind. We were sent to the ceremony location, where disaster struck. The groom and groomsmen put many things in the wrong spot. Lost the guest book. The bride lost her fancy guest book pens. Florals were lost that were meant for the guest book table. And the bride and groom didn't give us any supper, even though they told us they would have supper for us. We did bridal party photos, and then during bridesmaid photos, we noticed blood on the bride's dress, en route to the ceremony location. Her period started, so she had some big blood spots. The groom yelled at me for not knowing where safety pins were, because the bride didn't tell anyone where she may have extra. She didn't make a wedding emergency kit, so we were running around trying to find things. Then the bride wanted her veil put back in after wedding party photos, But her dad lost the bobby pins, even though I gave them to him with the veal, and said to put them together in the camper and not to lose any of them. He lost them. I was pulled in another direction while trying to get the vial into the camper, because the groom needed something else. We later found the guest book after most guests had arrived, but all of the pens and Sharpies didn't work, until someone had a random one in their vehicle that worked. Then we lost the bride for 20 minutes. Later to find out she was hiding in the camper, freaking out, because she didn't know if she was ready to get married. Just before we were all going to walk down the aisle, the bride was freaking out about how the water and bottles of wine were arranged on the table, and started to yell at all of us that it needed to be fixed. Her dad had to talk her down and tell her that it was not time to be upset about that, and that it was time to walk down the aisle. We all stayed until 3 a.m. to make the couple happy. This wedding was incredibly unorganized. So glad it's over. Relevant comments, commenter 1. What in the world is a dessert wedding? Something people do when they're too cheap to properly feed their guests? I feel sorry for the pregnant woman not getting adequately fed. What a trashy and inconsiderate bride. Reply, we only had dessert, not an actual meal, and a bunch of their aunts made dessert, so they didn't pay for it. But yeah, it's a real cheap way of getting out of making sure guests are fed. I've been to one other wedding like this, but an appetizer bar which was stocked all night and was delicious. Commenter 2. Was this part of the update where you helped the bride to bully 2 bridesmaids to staying the night when they didn't want to? She was awful, but you also behaved awfully just so you could make it happy. This whole thing sounds insufferable. Reply, I mean it when I say it, that we were kind to these girls. We explained nicely that the bride wanted this, but never communicated it clearly. She lives with these girls, and she wanted them to be there and not make the long drive home. They would have had 4 hours of sleep. We said to them that if they stayed, they'd get a lot more sleep. I shouldn't have said bullying because we didn't do that. We stayed for the bride. It's what she wanted. The entire wedding wasn't about us. If I didn't want to stay, I didn't have to. But we did it out of kindness for her because it was something she really wanted. This wedding wasn't about us. It was about the bride and trying to do something to make her happy. The girls who lived further away ended up sleeping super well and were grateful to have stayed. And they were staying the night at the bride's parents' house after the wedding anyways. Commenter 3. What did she do about the bloodstains on her dress? Did she have a spare? Reply, no. The groom asked if she had a backup dress. But we just covered the stains by flipping those sides of the dress and taping them with double-sided sticky tape and using safety pins to pin other pieces back. And you couldn't tell what we did at all. Ope on the bride treating the bridal party badly. Reply, yeah, she did treat us like crap. The stress of a wedding is no excuse to treat us like that. I get that weddings bring out the worst in people, for my own. I'm being considerate of the fact that my maid of honor will be 8 months pregnant, but she is still determined to be up there with me, and I've said to her that she doesn't have to. But we are making sure a lawn chair will come with during pictures, so she can sit down in between. My sister will also be 4 months postpartum, and she still wants to be in my wedding. She will be nursing at the head table, and I don't care because I love my new nephew. This bride didn't let her nephew come to their wedding. Stories number 3. AITJ for refusing to let my brother bring his new girlfriend to Thanksgiving after what she said about my wife. I 34M am hosting Thanksgiving this year at my place in Minneapolis. My wife 31F. And I have been together for 6 years, married for 3. My brother Tyler 28M has been dating this girl Amber for like 2 months. 2 months. And he's already trying to bring her to family Thanksgiving. Here's the thing. 3 weeks ago we all met up for drinks, my wife, Tyler, and Amber. Everything seemed fine until my wife excused herself to go to the bathroom. The second she was gone, Amber leans over and says to Tyler, "Is she always that quiet? It's kind of weird." My wife is on the shy side, especially around new people. She's been working on it, but social anxiety is real and it takes her time to warm up. I didn't say anything in the moment because I was honestly shocked, but it's been eating at me since. So yesterday Tyler texts asking what time to come over on Thursday, and that he's bringing Amber. I said actually, I'd prefer if it was just family this year. He got pissed and said Amber is family now and that I'm being ridiculous. I told him why I didn't want her there, that she was rude about my wife and I don't want that energy at Thanksgiving. He said I'm overreacting and that Amber was just making conversation and didn't mean anything by it. But like, you don't talk shit about someone's wife the second she leaves the table? That's not making conversation. That's being disrespectful. My mom is now involved and she's saying I should just let it go and let them come because it's Thanksgiving and family should be together. My wife says she doesn't care either way, but I can tell it bothered her when I told her what Amber said. Tyler is saying if Amber can't come, then he's not coming either. And now I'm the bad guy somehow? I don't think I'm being unreasonable, but my whole family is acting like I'm ruining Thanksgiving over nothing. Commenter 1. First, you're 34. This is none of your mom's business. Second, you're the host. You get to decide who is invited, but also all the invitees can either accept or decline. Oop. Comment. I didn't want to put this in the main post because it feels petty. But there's been other stuff with Amber too. She posted on Instagram a few weeks ago about people who can't hold a conversation with like a bunch of eye roll emojis. My wife saw it. The timing was literally the day after we all hung out. Also, Tyler has only been seeing her since September, and he's acting like they're engaged or something. He's never been this serious about anyone this fast. And honestly, I think he's in that honeymoon phase where he can't see red flags. My wife told me last night she appreciates me standing up for her, but she doesn't want to cause family drama. But that's the thing, she's not causing drama. Amber is, and Tyler is by defending her. I just don't get why I have to pretend someone is welcome in my home when they disrespected my wife. That's my line. That's always going to be my line. Commenter 2. Good for you. People telling you to get over the comments doesn't know how crippling that can be for an introvert. I've dealt with it my whole life. Comments to me like, "You're so quiet, do you ever talk?" It drew attention to me, and I would shut down. I often thought I'd like to respond with, "You're so loud, do you ever shut up?" But I didn't because that's rude. Commenter 3. NTJ. If it's such a bug deal for brother to have new GF come for Thanksgiving, then why don't they host? It's your house, and it would be pretty crappy for your wife to feel uncomfortable in her own home with someone like that. And I agree that you're not causing issues. The girlfriend and brother are. Stories number 4. How bad is drinking only one beer every night? I am confused about what counts as heavy drinking for women. Also, is ibuprofen okay to take every day? F2450, 140 lbs, located in the USA. I take Adderall for ADHD, Prozac for depression and anxiety, and OTC ibuprofen daily. Pretty much every night after dinner, I drink a beer. The ABV is typically in the 4.2 to 4.7% range, obviously. Any amount of beer is bad for you because alcohol isn't good for you, but I am unsure of exactly how bad this is for me. I saw multiple sources online state that the upper limit of alcohol intake for women is 7 drinks a week, which would be me since I'm having 1 drink a night, but also, some sources state that drinking every day regardless of the amount is a problem. I'm getting a lot of conflicting information. So I guess what I'm trying to ask is this the kind of bad habit that is equivalent to drinking a soda every night? Or more the kind of bad habit of, you need to go to therapy, quit immediately, and reevaluate your entire life? For what it's worth, I ran out of beer about 3 weeks ago, and decided not to get any more at the store. So I haven't drank for about 3 weeks. I haven't felt any different than I normally do. I haven't noticed any cravings or feeling crappy or anything. I feel pretty much exactly the same as I did when I was drinking every night. Would I be better off buying non-alcoholic beer? Do I have a drinking problem? Am I overthinking things? Also, is ibuprofen okay to take multiple times a day, every single day? My friends told me that it can lead to stomach ulcers. I don't want to take Tylenol though. And IDK any other OTC painkillers that don't have similar side effects. I also feel like it probably doesn't mix super well with the alcohol intake. Some of comments. Commenter 1. The recommended limit for general health, including cancer prevention and various other health outcomes, is considered 1 drink per day or 7 drinks per week for women. If you're staying within that limit, you should be fine unless you have another health condition where you've been told not to drink. If you're taking ibuprofen every day, you should see a physician to address the underlying reason that you're needing it that often. Reply, thank you, I appreciate your response and the clarification. It looks like I'm within that limit, and I don't recall ever being to avoid alcohol because of other health issues. Related to ibuprofen, if the problem is just general aches and pains, would I still need to see a doctor? I thought I was just kind of a was when it came to the side effects of having a body. It's not agonizing or anything, and I can do everything that I want to do fine. There's just pain that is annoying, and mostly goes away when I take ibuprofen. My primary physician has a super long waiting list, and I don't see her until late August for my annual appointment. And I already have a lot to discuss with her, and I would feel bad adding another thing on the list if it's not really a big deal. Again, thank you for your time, I really appreciate it. Commenter 2. If you have a long list of things to discuss, It's likely more appropriate to schedule a separate visit for those concerns to reserve your annual for health maintenance and cancer screenings. Topical NSAIDs like Voltaren are safer than oral. Try those, reply, okay, thank you. I guess that makes sense in hindsight. I will go ahead and make a separate appointment tomorrow. Adderall and drinking. Reply, yeah. It's listed as an interaction, and the little info slip I was given says not to drink while taking it. I think the severity of interaction is probably dependent on the person. Though, in my personal experience, I haven't experienced any noticeable ill effects, but some of my friends say that it has given them heart palpitations. By the time I'm having a drink, though, it's like 10,000 p.m. and I'm pretty sure my Adderall has worn off, which might factor into why I haven't experienced any side effects. Update post 24F 50-140 Libias. 5 months ago, I had made a post asking about how much drinking is harmful, and I had mentioned in my post that I was taking ibuprofen every day for general aches and pains, and I was promptly informed that if I feel the need to take ibuprofen every day, I should go see a doctor. I thought I was just a wimp and that everyone dealt with daily aches and pains and all that crap, and maybe people do. But it turns out my joints were very unhappy with me. I don't remember what my doctor said it was called. I know the word hypermobility was used, and I got referred to a physical therapist, and I've been feeling and doing a lot better now. I've also cut back on drinking. Now I'm at roughly 3 beers a week as opposed to a beer every evening. Top comment, commenter. People really underestimate what a good PT can do. Stories number 5. I've stopped doing the fun extra office stuff after I didn't like the way my boss handled something. I guess background is important, and sorry it's long. My job performance is exceptional. I meet every necessary mark 100% of the time and have done so for the last 10 years. Maybe an odd month or two in there due to travel and things that would make it impossible. I've also stepped up and carried the load for coworkers when things have come up to ensure our area isn't dinged for performance issues. Clients get along well with me. I've never had a complaint filed against me, etc. You get the idea. I also am known to do all the holiday decorating, coordinating the gifts for office celebrations, baking the desserts, writing formal thank you from our department, and making holiday baskets to help maintain positive relationships with the other agencies we work with. A couple months back, there was a policy change and none of us were happy about it. I made the best of a bad situation and adapted to the change immediately. My coworkers did as well, but they all called me to complain and vent. This is normal. We tend to complain amongst ourselves for one good bitch session and then just, it is what it is, and continue to work hard and not complain again. Here's where the issue is. While one of my coworkers was venting, my boss was eavesdropping selectively on my side of the conversation as that's what he could hear. I was commiserating with them, but also pointing out how it wouldn't be that bad. It's in our contract. How we can make it fun, less obnoxious, etc., etc., etc. We hung up and I didn't think about it further. Especially since neither of us really said anything that you wouldn't expect an employee to say with the kind of change they're wanting. It was pretty damn tame. I didn't think about it again until my boss called me in a few days later to do an employee evaluation in response to it. In every review I've had here, I've always hit the exceeds expectations in nearly every category. He cut me down to meets expectations on everything. He reamed me for my attitude for not cutting my coworker off and letting them vent, telling me I should have told them to call him. He accused me of being negative influence, and that if he didn't nip it in the bud now it could fester and create a toxic work environment. I was and still am pretty pissed about it. Coworkers should be allowed to vent to each other without it being treated like this. After this, as you may have guessed, I'm just not in the mood to head up everything extra I'd been doing to make the office environment fun. I keep my door closed when he's here. I didn't bring dessert for the March birthday lunch. That lunch isn't mandatory. But I didn't want more problems, so I went and just sat quietly the entire time. Now there's another Appreciation Week month for one of the departments we work with, and there's been an email chain about cards, gifts, and I've responded. The amount I'll put towards it and asked who I should send it to. People are noticing I'm not picking this stuff up, and that chain has gone in a circle for days now, and I'm not budging. I've had one person approach me about it, and I just said, I don't have the time to take it on right now. I guess I'm feeling like all the shit I did on the regular to foster a positive work environment got thrown out or was never appreciated because I lent an ear to a coworker and then got viciously reprimanded for it. Like, what's the point if 10 years of going out of my way gets thrown out just like that? Aita for just quietly stepping out of all of these extras due to my feelings on how this was handled? Am I being overly petty? Relevant comments. Commentator 1 NTA the boss. As the kids called it, FAFO'd, venting is typically a positive and necessary thing, as long as it's handled appropriately, and it sounds as if you were that appropriate bottleneck and sounding board. He was extremely stupid to have not allowed you to explain the situation to him. Stand your ground, just keep it light, sweet, and my workload is preventing me from keeping up with those extra tasks about it all. Reply, thank you. I did try to explain it to him when he was marking me down. The real irony is he was sitting there calling me a potential negative toxic presence that was going to ruin team morale the day after I had just handed out handmade valentines to my other teammates. Commenter 2, I agree with you and absolutely would be hurt in this aspect of having an evaluation weaponized against you. He is toxic management. His actions are going to damage morale more than providing a sympathetic ear will ever do. He boss is going to try and flip this on you. Now that you're not doing the extras that did brighten up your coworkers' days, he may try and come back and use this against you. Do you have a way to formally dispute the evaluation? Can you speak with HR? He is out of line punishing an employee for listening to someone else vent about the workplace. Venting is healthy, gets things out in the open so work can continue. I think you need to vent to someone higher on the food chain that can wrangle him in. Reply, this one isn't the annual, so it doesn't really count towards anything that could impact pay raises. If my next one goes like this, I will be taking it above him. At that point, it will potentially impact my earnings, and I refuse to get docked pay when I do so much. Commenter 3, NTA. You might want to start looking for a new job. Your boss seems to be the type to have the attitude, the beatings will continue until morale improves. He may end up firing you to nip it in the bud and set the other employees straight. Reply, oh, that's the thing. I love this job, it's a good one. And one of the few that still has a union. He wouldn't be able to terminate me unless I actually did something crazy, or consistently not meet my matrix. Commenter 4, can you talk to your union representative about what happened here? Reply, I could, but I'm holding off unless he tries to take it further than this. My actual review is up in a few months, and if that goes like this again with how good my performance is, I will be. Commenter 5, the fact that he took what he overheard and worked that as part of your performance evaluation is extreme, and tells me there is something more to this on his side. All the extra that you are doing are not part of your work duties, and stepping back is a choice. Simply let people know that you no longer have time to participate or lead such activities. I would watch things carefully and start documenting. Make sure that your silence and non-participation is not used against you. Reply, that's the reason I didn't miss the March birthday lunch. I'm definitely documenting. My plan is to just say I don't have time with my current case volume, if anyone asks. I've heard he reviewed the person that was complaining to me too, even though he didn't hear their side of the conversation. Which I'm thankful for, not them getting reviewed, but the not hearing part. They were pretty worked up. OP replying to a big downvoted comment. I was already not complaining by the time of the eval, and he had already seen me coordinate with other team members to make a day off it, so the change felt more like a hangout with work versus drudgery. I'm sure he felt like it was a win until I pointed out I'd already been coordinating and encouraging the team, which he had seen and felt he was not treating me fairly. The eval was absolutely some stupid power play on his part, but I think he realizes he fucked up because he hasn't been in our office very much since the eval. I've been a supervisor. You don't ream a good employee on a conversation you have heard bits and pieces of. Even if the content displeased you, you talk to them and escalate only if it continues. I'm not writing an email to advocate for a change as I equate that to some form of groveling, and I'm not in a position where I'd need to, since my numbers and track record speak volumes on their own. My plan is to take it above him if the eval that matters doesn't accurately reflect the data. Then it goes from being my problem to being his to justify to his higher-ups in the union. I'll also consider a formal grievance at that point. You're correct. My cutting back on the morale office party shit isn't going to change anyone's mind. But it's not being done with the goal to change anyone's mind. I simply don't feel like those efforts were considered and weighed before he essentially accused me of being a cancer to the office, which TBH I found to be very demoralizing and hurtful. It's hard for me to justify continuing it while I feel this way about it. I just feel like I'm being an asshole to people that didn't do anything by stopping without any explanation or warning. I'll admit, I shouldn't have let people vent to me at the office. That was a mistake on my part. But him performance evaluating the team over it was a huge misstep on his. I'm not planning on quitting. It's a good job with a lot of rare benefits. I'd be an idiot to walk over this, especially where I live. I think when the annual review is up, I'll know if I'm going to have to do more. Update 1. So a lot of people had asked for an update. I've waited a while after some movement. There was an event that usually requires someone to head up the card, gift, staff coordination things. I had told the team and my boss several weeks in advance this event was pending, and I wouldn't be free. No one did anything until the day before, and then one of them called me to ask that I do all the legwork. I declined, citing that I just did not have the time, which was true. My higher-ups cornered me on this a few days later, stating that I've been pulling away. Teamwork makes the dream work, etc. And citing this event as evidence. They also cited me being on my phone during unofficial mandatory fun times as further evidence of drawing back. I told them that I had given everyone, boss included, weeks of notice that the event was coming up and I wouldn't be available to head it up. I pointed out that I'm still helping the team with tasks directly relevant to work. But with my current caseload, I just can't afford to allocate time to the social event planning right now. As for the mandatory fun, I reminded them that I often don't get lunch breaks due to community meetings that get held at those hours, and my having to flex out early on those days. So having to lose out on a good break on a day I don't have to is burning me out. They fumbled around for about 30 minutes trying to convince me, and I just held firm that with my current caseload, I don't have time to allocate to non-essentials. I was told I'm allowed to prioritize my breaks. I've been so busy I haven't had a chance to attend the community meetings recently, and honestly, this might be another thing I end up cutting back on in the long run. Overall, it came across like they're panicked I'm considering leaving. There was a comment about that concern, and I let them know I'm not planning on leaving. But I am taking time to restructure my priorities now that my caseload has increased. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. You're a woman, aren't you? Don't let them use you for free labor like that either way. He can write his own fucking thank you notes. Don't do anything above your job description. You've been there 10 years? It's time to look for a new job. I bet you're underpaid too. Curious what the policy change is? Though, reply, oh, I'm not underpaid. I'm compensated fairly. This is a job worth writing out frustration for. Policy change was to make some non-traditional hours with stipulations mandatory. I'm sure once the changes inevitably result with problems during standard business hours, they'll eventually reconsider this stupid short-sighted band-aid fix. Commenter 2. OP, it sounds like you have a lot of energy and enjoy doing things, getting things done. Rather than feel bad about work, consider using this energy in circles that will appreciate you. Volunteer work, hobby circles, whatever. I do a bit of volunteer work at the local elementary school, and they are 1000% more appreciative of my time than any boss I've ever worked for. Reply, the nature of my work is emotionally draining. You could describe the relationships with coworkers as trauma-bonded at times. I do not have it in me at the end of my 40 hours to do more of what I do at work for no pay. I know that sounds awful, but I need my non-work hours to spend time with friends, family, pets, and hobbies. I can't serve from an empty vessel. I know everyone is saying just quit, etc., but that's realistically not a solution for me. I love the work that I do. I find large areas of it to be incredibly fulfilling. I'm having a positive impact on my community. I know that I bring a personal history that allows me to be somewhat good at what I do. I'm not sure they'd be able to easily find another me, and that's unfortunately what the clients on my caseload need. Beyond that, however, I enjoy coming into work at least 90% of the time. I know I wouldn't be able to find another job that checks all the boxes this one does. Especially not where I live. Commenter 3 NTA. But seriously, weren't you overdoing it? Do your work, enjoy your time. Reply, I never work over 40 hours. My hours end, and I walk right out the door and I leave the work phone there too. I don't think I was overdoing it, just making sure I was covering those that will cover me when things come up. It's not even a weekly occurrence, and they always reciprocate. I still plan on helping cover what needs coverage in regards to things relevant to the job. Just not the cards party planning stuff due to the way I'm feeling about things right now. Commenter 4. No one ever got promoted for making a cake or organizing a birthday party. Wise up, ladies. There is a reason men don't do this and get promoted. They focus on the job, not trying to be a mother to the workplace. Reply, I have zero desire to be promoted. I left a managerial position where I ran 3 programs to do this job. Less work, more pay, less responsibility. Not everyone fantasizes about job titles. Commenter 5.1. How the hell are you achieving exceeds expectations? I have done everything extra, volunteered for additional tasks and responsibilities, and have only ever gotten meets. Last year I actually got sick of it and asked what it actually takes. and was told flat out that corporate designs the metric to make it impossible. He's a typical mid-MGMT corporate jackhole. Took a one-sided conversation clip and got scared and offended his bullshit isn't being eaten up with a smile, then just cracks down on you overall over one incident where he was eavesdropping? F him NTA reply, I am very detail-oriented, organized, and efficient to a fault. A lot of stuff I do simply because I feel guilty for having free time at work. I could probably complete my entire job functions each week in like 20 hours if it was allowed that option. I've always been like this. I probably have some kind of disorder. I'm just as bad at home. My husband has told me that I complete more in the time between waking and getting to work than a lot of people manage in an entire day. The job I left for this one had to hire more than one person to replace me. But training was probably easy because I wrote a guide on what needed to be done daily and weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually, and gave them my spreadsheets. I know if I reached out to that previous job, they'd snap me up in an instant. But their pay and benefits are shit. Commenter 6, any update on your boss's reaction? So invested in your story. Reply, not really. Hate to disappoint. The thing is, he's a pretty decent boss most of the time. I think that's why I was so shocked about this whole situation. We don't have a lot of mandatory fun stuff in our office, so I guess there haven't been many opportunities. I'm holding strong to just not heading it up. I'm doing my job, and that's about it. My coworkers haven't reached out at all this week, so I think they're processing how to approach my sudden weirdness. Distance update 2. Annual performance evaluation is in, and it's just as dismal as the retaliatory one. I've declined signing it without discussion, and I've contacted my union. This feels like punitive retaliation. If they can't justify the decreases despite my consistent quality performance, I will be quiet quitting everything that's not a core job function, as continuing to do so will feel like chasing an unattainable metric. Final update: union advised that technically the review is valid as they're going by the letter of the set parameters. And boss advised that since I meet my deadlines and quotas it's valid. I have gone the route of quiet quitting. Nothing outside the minimum to meet expectations, so my raises aren't impacted. I've called in sick on a few days. There was non-mandatory but unspoken mandatory fun. I've ceased community outreach so that I'm not missing my breaks. Co-workers are aware there was unjust retaliation. More changes have come that impact management. Boss is talking about taking a job with less of a commute. I know I'll be encouraged to apply for their position. All I'm going to do when that happens is laugh. Stories number 6. Daycare wants my office to park in our reserved spaces while they use ours too. We did. Been waiting for this one. My partner and I own a small 8-person company that shares a building with only a daycare. Our company consists almost exclusively of higher-level professionals, a couple lawyers, CPAs, etc., so most have their own large office plus a couple of common areas, conference rooms, a nice kitchen. All in all, it's about 3,500 SKF, which is obviously a lot for 8 people, but necessary for our line of work, due to the size of the office. The lease has a parking provision which grants us exclusive rights to all 24 parking spots. This is somewhat important to the story, not our work. We only need 8+ clients. Also, important is the daycare's parking lot only consisting of about 10 spots in front of the building. The parents would use our lot to drop off, as the daycare's lot would be mostly full with their staff's cars, and even some of their staff would park in our lot. I didn't mind at all. We had over a dozen empty spots each day, and it was nice to have the mostly happy children around in the mornings, afternoon. Until a month ago, I started coming in a bit later at the same time as daycare drop-off. Our lot was crazy with parents or kids walking and parking, so I used their lot like they have done with ours for years. First day, no issue. Second day, the manager saw me get out and gave me a piercing stare. A week later or so, I did it again, and my car was towed. Not a warning or word from the manager, anyone at the daycare, to me, or our office. I went to the daycare to ask if they knew it was my car. It is a very distinctive old blue truck, and if some kind of mistake had been made. The manager came out and said it was not a mistake, and in a very rude, demeaning tone. Her exact words were along the lines of, "Unfortunately, we can't have the liability of non-staff and parents within our lot, and I'm sure the parents don't appreciate having to walk further either, or an unknown adult like you in the lot." She looks me up and down, and I am a totally normal-looking 30-year-old male. "I think at least, don't you have some reserve spots in the back? You should really park there and let us park here." With an eye roll, she walked off. I was happy I held my tongue in front of the children, considering how angry I was, knowing it was not the time for that conversation. A couple days later, I told the manager, while we were outside the office, that I wished she would have come to me before towing my car and costing me $600. Asked for an apology and said, since we share the back lot and the parents take up almost all of our spots in the morning and afternoon, can I park in the front lot the occasional morning the timelines align? She flatly said no, and basically gave me the same speech she gave last time, at least not commenting on my appearance this time. I left things for a week thinking it was over until again, I had nowhere to park one morning, having to wait 10 minutes for parents to filter out of our lot lest my car be towed. And who do I see but the manager getting a spot in my lot before me even? I decided to comply with the manager's wishes then, and developed a plan. I contacted the building owner, and Saiter more accurately lied that due to compliance reasons with a state license we're applying for, we need to have a gate installed with employee guest pass access only on our parking lot. Our company would of course cover the cost, same-day approval from landlord, installed 2 weeks later. I drove in early that first day after install. I tell you the mayhem was well worth it. Watching from the corner window gave me a perfect view of it all. It started with daycare staff pressing all sorts of keys on the gate to try and get in, trying to park where they have for months, years even. Then their lot filled up completely. Parents started arriving. A staff member had to stand at the gate telling parents there was now no access. Their parking lot was basically congested with parents double parked taking their children in. Other parents parked a quarter-mile down in another lot at the park our office overlooks. I eventually went down to give the manager a nice little wave and walked back up to my office. She gave me a piercing stare that just made me grin ear to ear. I guess she sent the owner a rather angry email about parking rights to the back lot afterwards, and how it's crazy one small office gets the entire thing. Apparently, she did not know we had all of it. He said him, and I may have to discuss the parking provision in the future, and he also did not know the lease gave the entire backlot. But it's not a big deal to him, not sure why he let me put the gate in, regardless. I still have 2 years left on my lease with another option to extend an additional 5. So no plans on moving anytime soon from the office or my 24 parking spots. P.S. It's an office building next to a park and residential homes. I am in no way endangering these children since they now walk through a quarter-mile of grass and playground to get to daycare. There's not even a street to cross from that lot. If anything, I made the days of the employees and parents better in retrospect. Actually not sure employees can park in the playground lot for that long. Edit. Finally figured out how to edit. Newer around these parts. To everyone asking me why I did not tow, 2 reasons. One most importantly. I was tired and working 12-plus-hour days for a few months at that point. That day she parked there was the last or second to last day of that stretch. And then I'm basically 4-6 hours a day for 9 months. Towing a car was the last thing on my mind. Getting into the office and finishing my work was my only goal. Then my partner suggested it when I recounted the story. $600 can be a lot of money for some. I grew up fairly poor, and know how devastating a towed car can mean to a family struggling month to month. Another day, I may have done it. I'm glad I didn't. Commenter 1. Touch 8 to the daycare worker. I was really hoping you towed the car when you said she got a spot in your lot before you did. Commenter 2. It's absolutely flabbergasting that people would rather treat a stranger like a complete piece of shit, rather than just talk to them in a normal, non-aggressive, non-confrontational way. It literally costs nothing to just at minimum have 1 to 2 conversations and feel people out before you make a decision on how future interactions should be handled. People like that deserve every single inconvenience possible. Reply. It's shocking, honestly. Happens for too often with opposing counsel's clients, or even opposing counsel who cannot remain civil. So luckily I basically deal with uncivil a-holes for a living. Easy to deal with a situation like this in normal life with nothing at risk. Commenter 3. Time to lease them some of your parking spots for 10 days, until you pay off the cost of the gate and getting your car towed. Reply. I don't care about the money. I care about the inconvenience of the manager. Unfortunately, there is great collateral damage with the parents' staff convenience too. Sacrifices must be made in this great petty war. Commenter 4. The daycare and preschool my daughter went to, she's 13 now, so 10-ish years ago, didn't let the parents come in during pickups, drop-off time. The parents stayed in their cars, in a line, didn't park in a spot. The staff would walk to the car and get the kid out or put them in, and take them inside. The place had a small parking lot, but the cars could easily loop around in it. This was more efficient for getting ye kids in and out, and the staff said they found that the kids seemed less likely to be upset about leaving when the parent didn't walk them in. Stories number 7 Aita for telling my BF I'm not going to be anything like his mom, and if he expects that we should break up. I am 24F, my BF is 25M. This past week we flew to his hometown. His grandma passed away and we flew there to stay for 4 days. I don't actually have anything bad to say about his mom. She is very sweet, warm, and welcoming. My BF is number 5 of 13 children. The youngest is not even a year old yet. His family home is huge and very clean, and everyone seemed great. The issue I have is she is and has always been a Sam. While we were there, she was constantly busy. She did everything. She basically streamlined his dad's life. He doesn't have to do really anything at home. She cooks, she cleans, she looks after the children. She even does his laundry and ironed everything. His dad really didn't do anything at all. Apparently, she even takes care of the yard and gardens. All he does is maintenance. She also gets up before he does and makes his breakfast and lunch and gets everything ready for him, so all he has to do is grab it and go. He said once the kids get old enough they have their own chores and stuff, but she did a serious amount of work. His dad owns some sort of contractor business. As soon as he walked in the door after work, there was food on the table and no one was allowed to eat until his dad sat down and ate his first bite and told his mom it was good. The meal she cooked was absolutely massive. There was enough food to feed an army she was cooking most of the evening. It was very good, but holy crap, it was a lot. I asked him if this was special because of the guests, but apparently she always cooks enough to feed an army. Lunch was pretty much whatever was in the refrigerator you wanted. Breakfast was also a massive meal. I have no idea what time she got up, but it was a big breakfast. The family did at least clean everything up so she didn't have to clean, but holy crap, I do not envy her. When we were on our way home, my BF was talking about his family and basically saying how much he loved the way they live, and I told him I am absolutely not doing that at all. I don't want to be a Sachm. I have a career I love. I absolutely will not be streamlining his life. I expect a basically 50-50 lifestyle. I'm not doing everything for him. He acted like he understood and said he didn't expect me to be exactly like his mother. But he did expect me to be home more if we had children. I basically told him if he wants a SAHM we should break up, and he can find someone else who feels the same. Now he is upset and basically told me he wanted some time. I haven't heard from him since Monday. I'm not sure what to do. Edit, holy shit, I was not expecting this to go sideways. I thought maybe 10 replies max. I just got off work, I'm so sorry. So to answer some questions, the oldest 8 children are all adults. They do not live there. They were just there for the funeral. The funeral was for his paternal grandmother. I do not hate his family, I just don't want to do that. They were all very nice. I believe his parents are happy. They seemed very affectionate toward each other. I have no idea how old his mother is or was when she started having children. I assume she is in her early 50s. She looks similar in age as my mom, who is 53. I do believe this relationship is over. I agree we are incompatible. I plan to call and talk to him tonight. Commenter 1. You know, it's weird. I grew up in a family where my father worked a lot, and my mom did most of the housework outside of car shit and lawn work. And I did not grow up thinking I needed a woman to do these things for me. I grew up thinking she looked exhausted and that my dad could have chipped in more so that she wouldn't be so tired. She wasn't unhappy or anything. She just did everything and would apologize all the time for things my dad just didn't like. I don't want a partner to take care of me like some kind of grown man-child. I want a partner, and I want to take care of them as much as they take care of me. No matter who is earning the paychecks, commenter 2. His mom was a SAHM because she was either pregnant or on maternity leave for decades. If that is his standard, cross your legs tight, then run. NTA, but damn, 13? 13, is he from Utah? Commenter 3. If that guy wants to be able to afford a life with a large family and a stay-at-home spouse, he'd better be robbing banks or rigging the lottery. Working for a living won't make a life like that possible, with the cost of living and wages being what they are. Commenter 4. Of course he loves the way his family lives because he grew up a boy in a patriarchal household. I bet you anything if you ask his sisters they may have a different story to tell. Also, 13 kids? This dude is def gonna be a fertile myrtle. Run girl, run. Stories number 8. My 24M girlfriend 26F does unbelievably stupid and self-centered things in public all the time. I'm honestly ashamed to go out with her. Hi everyone. This is my first time asking for relationship advice online. I've tried to bring the topic up with my friends and family, but I'm never really able to broach the subject out of fear of embarrassing her or ruining their opinion of her. The situation isn't very complicated. I have been in a 6-month-long relationship with a woman, but in public she does things that the average 10-year-old knows not to. In the past month, she has, on multiple occasions, crowded in front of the door of an elevator and rushed in without letting people off. On multiple occasions, taken out her phone while driving to respond to a text. Slowing down to 15 miles under the speed limit while doing so. Walked into a restaurant and instead of waiting to be seated, just navigated her way to where she wanted to sit. Squeezed in as in, pushing her body up into them as she did so, behind a person who was standing up to get off a crowded train, so she could sit down before anyone else could grab the seat. Completely ruined a load of my white clothes by stopping the washing machine and throwing a brand new purple shirt of hers in with them. When confronted, she said, I was in a hurry to wash it. When I try to bring her behavior up, she says that I don't respect her or that I'm being judgmental. She gets incredibly upset and defensive, often telling me reasons why she did the above things. The text was important. Her feet hurt on the train and so on. I'm really desperate for a decent way to convey why her behavior is so absurd to her. Because I like her in general, but don't want to be in a relationship with someone so inconsiderate towards total strangers. TLDR. My girlfriend has absolutely no concern for other people in public and keeps embarrassing me. Top comments. Commenter 1. There's rude and entitled behavior, like pushing into an elevator before letting people out. There's rude behavior that causes damage to others, like the white clothing incident. Then there is dangerous and possibly criminal, depending on where you live, behavior that potentially causes bodily harm or death. Driving and texting. The first two groups, I wouldn't want to be with that person. But everyone has different levels of tolerance. The last item, no way would I be with that person, no way. I have zero tolerance to people who endanger others. Commenter 2. The last item, no way would I be with that person, no way. I have zero tolerance to people who endanger others. This. People who drive and text are unbelievably entitled and self-centered for considering that their text is more important than other people's lives. Commenter 3. She's 26, that frontal lobe is fully developed. If she doesn't see a problem with her behavior, I doubt she's going to change. I suggest just sitting her down and telling her how you feel about her actions in public. Be completely honest, and if she continues, I would say it is time to reassess the relationship. The washer incident tells me that she won't hold herself accountable, but how does she act in front the people she knows? Update. 3 days after I wrote about her self-centered behavior and cosmic victim complex, she made my decision easy for me. We were at the dollar store and in line at the checkout. My girlfriend got to the register, where the cashier started scanning all 50 or so of the items that we wanted. Our total came up and my girlfriend tried to pay by credit card. The cashier apologetically explained that they weren't taking credit card at the time because their system was acting up all morning. She pointed at the handwritten, cash-only sign that my girlfriend and I had missed. Neither of us had cash on us. First, my girlfriend tried to debate with the cashier, but I had to patiently explain to her that there was nothing the poor woman could do. As my girlfriend argued her point, whatever the fuck it was, the line behind us grew with a lot of very rightfully irritated people. There I was trying to placate my girlfriend as she tried to troubleshoot their equipment as people were audibly groaning behind us. Finally, she agreed to take the 5 minutes to go across the street and withdraw money from the ATM, which shouldn't have been such a big deal in the first place. My girlfriend told the cashier to keep everything scanned and ready for her to pay when she came back. I was going to interject, but the cashier said, "Ma'am, there are people waiting." "I can't do that." With a glance at the line, my girlfriend retorted with, "Oh, they can wait a bit longer." Without a word, she left to get some money. The terrified cashier awkwardly looked at me, seeking permission to cancel the items. I just told her it was fine and to please help the next customer. As person after person paid for their goods, I apologized to each individually. They seemed understanding. My girlfriend got back 10 minutes later because she wanted to get an ICEE from the corner shop after withdrawing money. When she noticed the items had to be scanned all over again, she entirely flipped her lid. She started ranting about calling corporate, which I'm not even sure exists for that small dollar store chain, and then talked about posting about it on Twitter. Finally, I blew up, yelled at her for being a very selfish person with expletives, and just walked away. I'm done, the relationship is done. She is texting me, but I'm not even reading them. Holy Mother of Christ. I really hope the next guy who dates her has the patience of a saint. Or maybe I hope she dates a total self-righteous dickhead who can straighten her out. TLDR. My ridiculously selfish girlfriend had a very public meltdown, which led to me having a very public meltdown, and I dumped her. Final comments. Commenter 1. Wow, that was yikes. She wanted to get an IC. I don't know why, but to me that part of the story really underlines her craziness. Congratulations, you finally got out of the way of the bullet and dodged it. Reply, it's crazy how normalized her behavior has become to me. That barely even registered as a blip. It was like, oh, she decided that instead of making everyone wait 5 minutes, she'd make them wait 10. Yeah, that sounds like her. I also knew if I brought up the ICE exactly what her response would be. I was thirsty. Commenter 2, where does her entitlement come from? Reply, I'm going to bet she was raised by parents who treated her like a princess. Reply to a deleted commenter, yeah, that's kind of what I got. If at 26 she is that big of a Karen, I can't even imagine how she'll be at 45. No offense to anyone who is 45, of course. It's just that these kinds of behaviors only tend to get worse as we age. Stories number 9, Aita for being upset. My husband gave away our roasts while I slept. I went to the store and bought 2 roasts for a total of around $40, veggies, etc., and made both roasts. So the cost with everything was probably 50 plus. I had been complaining to my husband recently that I am tired of cooking big meals for every meal and how much it's draining me. I spent all night cooking these roasts. I did this so we could store the extra and use it for a few days to give me a break. I was so tired today, so we took over with the kids alone and told me to take a nap. We normally parent together, but when one of needs something we take over to help as couples should. When I was napping, he and the kids ate some of the roast, and then he gave the rest to my sister's family. He says I'm upset for no reason, as he didn't think we had room in our fridge for the bowl it was in. We have Ziploc bags I was going to put it in. And now that's like $50 worth of food that went to one meal. To clarify something, I didn't eat any, but I don't eat meat, so he knew I wasn't going to. So after I got up, I had to cook dinner for myself, him, and the kids because there was basically no roast left. I do feel like I should have specifically mentioned that it was meant for a few days, but there was so much I never thought he was going to give it away. I'm not yelling or anything. I just got really silent and he knew I was upset. I normally wouldn't have cared if he shared with them. But this was such an expensive time-consuming meal. My husband doesn't do most of the cooking because I can do more balanced diet for the kids, and he works from home so it makes it more convenient. Update for clarification. My sister made chicken noodle soup from scratch yesterday for all of us too. But we gave her ingredients for it as well as it was a planned meal. She's making pizza from scratch for us tomorrow, and again, it is a planned meal, so we supplied her with our share of ingredients for that too. She knew he said there was no room in the fridge, and they ate their portion for lunch. He did not tell her it was an accident like some people interpreted. Final update. Holy assumptions. Haha, no, we are not in a cult. My sister and her family live here with us. My husband apologized now and says from now on he will ask first, and I feel a lot better. No, I'm not teaching my kids that only women can cook. I'm teaching my kids that relationships differ, and you do the things you are good at. My husband made a dumb decision and he recognizes that now, but the amount of assumptions people have came up with is wild. Comments, commenter 1 NTA. I'd be livid if I spent all that time preparing that and my partner just gave it away without asking me first. Perhaps he should try cooking some meals himself so he understands the time and effort and thoughtfulness that go into them. Commenter 2 NTA. There was a Reddit a while back of a friend who dumped out all of OP's homemade ravioli from the dinner party she spent all day prepping for, and the boyfriend thought it was no big deal. Op then proceeded to make BF remake the ravioli to fully understand the error of his dumbassery. He never fully finished prepping the meal, and nearly ended the day in tears from frustration. Me thinks your husband needs to remake your roasts to truly see the value of what he gave away. Cuss even beyond money, all the time you put into dinner to receive very little out of it is BS. Commenter 3 NTA, is your husband actually dumb? If not, he did this on purpose, so either he didn't have to eat leftovers, or so you are forced to cook each and every day? Your husband can cook balanced meals, and it is pretty easy to prep and do one since he works from home. A crock pot meal is easy and can be balanced. Stop enabling his incompetence. Commenter 4. When he asked what was for supper, tell him there's plenty of roast left. When he says he gave it to his sister, tell him he has a choice of eating at his sister's or going hungry. Stories number 10. My brother hacked into everything and is trying to control my life. I'm in my second year of undergrad at a state university in California, and I'm having an issue with my brother, who in his late 20s, and a computer engineer. This is relevant to my issue. As a side note, I know very little about computers other than basic Googling skills. My brother is a very type A person, very perfectionist and hardworking, often to the detriment of himself and others. He is a nice and positive person, and is successful in the traditional sense, but he is very controlling and has a bit of an overblown ego. I'm a much more relaxed person, and the two of us share very little in the way of interests or guiding philosophies. I'm a visual arts major who likes to draw, and he's the type of person who watched Fight Club and thought that Tyler Durden was onto something. We get along but have hostilities. My brother resents the fact that I am not like him and that I don't look up to him as a role model. He is very fond of mocking my interests, hobbies, career plans, and he often talks literally about a plan for me in which I change my major to engineering and start taking his advice. When he brings this up now over the phone, I stop talking to him for whatever amount of days, weeks, until he apologizes, and we do it all over again. 2 weeks ago, my brother made a joke referencing a piece of digital art I drew on my laptop. I didn't think anything of it until I realized after the call ended that I never posted that piece of art anywhere, not even onto any cloud service. It had only been available on my physical laptop. I was nervous and downloaded malware bytes, but it didn't find anything. Thinking back, I also recalled my brother making a joke about something I said to a friend privately on my Discord, which also was not publicly available. Checking Gmail and a few other websites I'm on that showed options, I discovered someone had been logging into my accounts from an unfamiliar computer, and had then been doing so for about a week. I called my brother about this and he laughed and told me that he had remote access to my computer, and that he'd be checking up on everything I was doing from this point on. I told him that that was ridiculous, and he basically laughed and said that people today have no reasonable expectation of privacy anyway. Without going into detail, I've basically discovered that my brother literally has access to everything in my life. My bank account, school account, my art, chat accounts, all the files on my computer. He has even referenced information that leads me to think there is a very good chance of him having a camera microphone in my room. He has been in my apartment in the last month, and the only reason I think he might not is because I haven't been able to find it. There is nothing on my computer or cloud files or anything I'm even remotely embarrassed about. But the idea that my brother has all my information is terrible, and I want him to stop. I don't feel comfortable in my apartment or using my computer or personal accounts anymore. I'm writing this from my school's library. Is there a way to clearly show him that this is wrong with an amount of force and guarantee my privacy in the future, without getting him in serious trouble? My brother is an idiot, and I'm pissed at him for this, especially in the way where he acts like it's a joke, or that he's doing it to mentor me, which he keeps saying, like he has called me knowing my class schedule, which I never told him, and reminded me to go to classes, etc. But I don't want his life should be ruined over this, even if he is an asshole. He has also joked about dropping my classes, which I got really pissed at, and he assured me it was a joke, but I still feel uncomfortable that he'd even hint at that. Thanks, update. Without going into a lot of detail, based on some of the stuff I read on here and a conversation with a friend, I realized that the way I viewed the relationship with my brother was incredibly messed up, and I decided to act more seriously about this. I was thinking about how to proceed last night while cleaning, and then I actually found a camera. I know I said I thought there was one before, but I don't think I really consciously did. It was in my bathroom. I have gone to the police station, and for now have an injunction against my brother. I also reported the computer hacking along with texts and a phone message he sent where he both alludes to and directly confirms it. So I don't know what'll happen, but I feel a lot better having taken this right. I appreciate the comments people sent, it helped a lot. Thanks, update 2, without exaggeration. This was probably the worst day of my life. After getting served the injunction and temporary restraining order thing, my brother 1 told my parents and 2 chose to immediately violate it. He left me several messages that essentially was low-key threatening to ruin my life, and I was scared, so I reported it. He was taken to jail, and to my current understanding is going to get a type of misdemeanor charge for it if he already hasn't. I don't know if he's in jail right now. I knew my parents were going to take his side, but they have effectively disowned me for this. My parents are very religious conservative Catholics. I'm not religious anymore, but they don't know that, and they were very upset by me reporting it. That's an understatement. I have enough scholarships where I will be able to continue paying for my living expenses school with my part-time job. But the way they treated me was horrible. They're very upset because this'll probably screw up his college according to the talks we've had. They said I'm disgusting, not welcome home, etc. My dad sent me a video of him and my mom burning most of the belongings I left at his house. Not much important to me, but still. They don't believe me about the camera, and my dad said he specifically didn't care even if it was there. Just screaming the entire time. I stopped answering my phone and checking my email because it terrifies me. I bought a new cheap computer, Because even though someone helped me wipe it clean, I'm honestly too scared of using the old one at this point. I haven't left my room in a week. The worst of it is over, I think. But I feel like I felt in a pit. I can't stop crying. Update 3. Hi, still in California. I'm having some new problems since my last update and I'm unsure how to handle them. I'd like to say things have been good, but they haven't. I had to stop school this semester because I've become extremely depressed and couldn't handle the workload of both school work and some personal things I'm focused on related to my sexual orientation. Planning on going back next semester. Really can't focus on anything past work and my life feels very empty RN. Need to leave the house more haha and talk to someone who isn't a customer. My brother is still in police custody and still in the process of getting convicted, which apparently takes much longer than I'd thought. My parents and a few random people their age, who I think they have recruited for this, have been continually harassing me through various electronic means or random phone numbers. They do 67 or something and spreading false rumors about me, and I was too depressed to deal with it properly with another restraining order, other things, so it's just been easier to ignore. My main problem at the moment is that I'm trying to get a new job but I can't because I need my SSN. When I broke off with my parents and this happened, I had some of my important documents with me, but not the ones that college students won't use on a daily basis: passport, SSN, birth certificate. I'm embarrassed, but I don't have it memorized. The last time I needed it, my parents sent me a picture before all this happened, but I no longer have that in my texts. I called my parents to send them to me and tried to make it sound like I'd call the police if they didn't, and my father implied that he either burned them or would never give them to me. He didn't visibly burn them in the video he sent, but I don't know if that was everything. I have trouble talking to him right now, and I couldn't maintain it. I tried calling his parish leader, who I know, and he told me he'd talk to my parents about not giving me the info, harassing me. But it hasn't done anything. If he did, surprise, surprise. The only documents I have to prove ID are my permit and my school ID, which is useless in this scenario. I need more documents if I want to get a new SSN card. I'm also scared of my parents having this information, because I think they might try to mess with my life. I'm afraid that if I call the police, my dad will just claim that he never had it, and burn it, hide it forever, and then I'm screwed without any way to fully prove my current identity to get new documents. Also, I want to change my name, and I'd appreciate if anyone knows the best way to go about doing that. Or if it'd be too much of a pain right now. Not that big of a deal, and honestly still lazy, but would make me feel better if it's not a big thing. Thank you very much. The people here have been very helpful to me at a point in my life when I don't really have anyone to talk to or give me advice in regards to these types of legal issues. Update 4. I just want to make this post because I think it's good to make a point about how the world actually works. And I don't like leaving things under the false impression that everything ended up being okay. The last 5 months of 2018 were the worst months of my life because of everything that happened with my brother and me being disowned by my family. My family's friends and many other people who I thought I knew, respected. I ended up getting my documents back without too much trouble. But after that, everything has been a loss. My brother was not really punished in any substantive way. My parents have endeavored to protect him, and he basically got something on the level of probation, no jail time. He was fired but has been hired again with a much better job with a small private company, because I'm told of a connection with a colleague. He or my parents. But I think him for various reasons had various people call me up from unlisted numbers with vaguely threatening messages, calling me a whore, or just breathing on the phone until I had to get a new number. Rumors have been spread about me to the point where I don't feel comfortable even talking to nice people I knew, because I'm afraid they'll judge me based off things they've seen that aren't true. I still am not going to be able to go back to college this semester because of personal and financial reasons. And I basically have lost all my friends due to either personal insecurity, severe depression, or the rumors. I don't leave my house outside of work, and I'm not taking care of myself in the way I should. Very grossly thin and pale, working on getting better though, and I've been having very terrible dreams about going to hell and burning alive forever, which are driving me crazy. I'm not going to do anything dramatic, but mentally I'm not where I need to be. I'm not trying to make this a pity party. And I acknowledge that I'm a big part of the reason this happened, in the sense that I'm not handling it in the most productive way. And I'm not asking for help. I have a shitty job that allows me to stay alive fine. Just having trouble getting to school, which I think I'll be able to start again this summer, but I want to emphasize how fucked up the whole system is. This is the second time in my life I've been put in this position, and my first time as an adult and someone trying to report it. And either way, I have been screwed. lied to, and watched the person who ruined my life get away and live happier ever after. Nobody cares about people who get violated, and I understand why they don't come out and report. It's all rigged. My brother, his girlfriend, and my parents are almost 2-week-long Hawaiian cruise right now. Smiling and laughing, and I'm in my apartment still unable to sleep right because of all this. Happy New Year, enjoy your cruise, ha ha ha. What a cool picture of Waterslide XD. Again, thanks to this community at the least. It was a big help in the early stages when I needed to get my thoughts together, and I really appreciated it. I hope everyone who was cool about it gets the type of life they deserve. Really thank you. Update 5, I moved to another state now. For the purposes of the final update, it doesn't matter. Things have settled for me as of 4 weeks ago, and I remembered a lot of people sending me messages and PMs, so I thought I would give a final update. Life isn't good in the sense that everything is perfect. I 100% absolutely do not believe in karma, or that good things happen to people who do good and versa with evil people, but things ended up working that way in this scenario after all the shit. Long story short is 3 months ago my brother was diagnosed with a terminal illness, and he died about 2 months later this April. We don't have a family history with this, and I found out about it more than a month after his diagnosis. Did not see him after his death, and whatever campaign he had to bug me with his buddies just stopped all of a sudden when he found out about it. So I guess he lost interest once he found out he didn't have much time. I don't know many details because I'm not involved and I obviously didn't try to be, but he's dead. I'm glad. Felt bad about it for a day or two and then just thought, no, really done with it. The universe threw me one fucking freebie and I'm going to appreciate it. I honestly feel freer and happy, and I hope he died in as much pain as could be expected. My life is good right now. The past 9 months have been some of the worst times of my life, but things have settled into almost niceness. Uni is postponed at the moment and maybe forever, but I've found a good job I like in a much cheaper state that I like more and don't have to work at a lot. I have plenty of free time now and I'm having fun with it instead of sitting in misery. Started drawing again and reading incredibly depressing online superhero novels. Also pushing myself to make new friends and going to look into therapy soon. Feeling alive again. Taking care of my health again, and I'm not underrating anymore. Parents have reached out twice and I ignored them. Planning to do again and forever. I hope they rot, and I don't feel bad about it anymore. Sick of feeling guilty, sick of feeling sick. They're the fucked up people, not me. All I want to do now is hear about whenever they go and join my brother. I don't want to say my brother suddenly got cancer and died and that fixed everything and I'm happy now. 'Cause that isn't true, but he died and I'm glad about it, and yes, it did make me feel happy, and I'm finding it much easier to be happy now. I wish I could say I didn't need luck to fix my problems, but whatever. Thanks for everyone who sent me messages and offered me types of help even if I didn't take it. I had 4 one-time conversations with 4 people, and that meant a lot to me. Hope only nice things happen to you guys. Thanks again. Stories number 11. Tifu by misunderstanding the word chapstick for my whole life. So this is mildly embarrassing, but I have to live with it. So you all might as well get a laugh out of it. Earlier today, I was hanging out with a friend. We'll call him Ryan, because that's his name. We were supposed to meet up to run some errands, and I texted him, meet me at the store real quick. I need to grab some chapstick, now all my life. I genuinely thought it was 2 words. Ike, a chapstick, a stick that belongs to a chap. It makes perfect sense in my head. Somewhere deep in my brain that felt grammatically right. A chap me has dry lips. Therefore, I need my chapstick. I've been saying it that way for years, even to other people. But no one ever corrected me, so in my head, that's how it's always been. And in my defense, if you've never texted it, never typed it into Google, and only ever said it out loud, your brain just kind of fills in the blanks with whatever makes sense. Every time I reached into my pocket in winter, I pulled out my trusty chapstick. But with Ryan, I texted it out for the first time. And he immediately roasted me. You mean chapstick, right? One word? Now, when I tell you the realization hit me like a freight train, I'm not exaggerating. I could literally feel my brain buffering, replaying the last 15 years of my life like, wait, has it always been one word? When I actually met up with him, I tried to play it off. But there was no way to make it sound better, like, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, haha, that's what I meant, my finger slipped. No, it was Jover. So of course I had to endure 2 solid hours of non-stop roasting from Ryan, who followed me around the store doing this fake British accent, saying things like, "Oi chap, might you spare a stick for my chapped lips?" And good heavens, where might a gentleman procure some of this chapstick you speak of? Then he started texting our group chat about it, screenshots were sent, memes were made. Someone changed my contact name to that chap's stick in their phone. Ryan was still laughing when we got back to the car. I tried to defend myself. I said, well, it makes sense, doesn't it? It's a stick for chaps. But he just laughed harder. Every time I look at that little tube now, I can practically hear Ryan's voice saying, "Oi, chap. Care for a dab of your stick?" So yeah, that's the tale of how I was betrayed by my own brain. TLDR, thought it was chap's stick, it's not. Comments, commenter 1. You even had the universal no proof necessary excuse right there. You mean chapstick, right? One word? Yeah. Damn autocorrect, commenter 2. I was 10 years old when I found out that it wasn't 2 words. Diarrhea? Which made sense to me, my rear is dire. Commenter 3. Hahaha, someone I know thought chest of drawers was Chester drawers, and never questioned the whole thing. He was like 30-odd when this conversation was happening. Commenter 4, when my partner and I first moved in together. Like a decade ago, we threw a party and she made an invitation in Photoshop. She wrote, "Make your own hamburgers." She was really embarrassed, so I didn't really grill her too much on it. Just laughed a little and joked about it maybe twice more. She definitely thought they were hamburgers, but I have no idea how. Considering her intelligence and the fact that we live in the USA, and that is not an uncommon word to see written. Anyway, I had forgotten that until this post, so thank you. Stories number 12. I lied about having kids just so people would take me seriously at work. I 34F work in a corporate office where most of the women around my age are moms. I'm not. I never wanted kids, and I'm happy with that decision. But in meetings, in break rooms, in casual chats, I noticed how the moms bonded over shared exhaustion, school events, and daycare costs. They'd talk about real responsibilities and life outside of work. Meanwhile, if I ever said I was tired, someone would say, "Just wait until you have kids." So one day, out of sheer pettiness, I said I had a 3-year-old. And suddenly, everything changed. People were warmer. They included me. My boss told me to go home early to your little one, after late meetings. I got empathy I never had before, just because they thought I was a mom. It's been 6 months. I've kept the lie up. There's a framed stock photo of a kid on my desk. His name is Eli. I know it's messed up. I know I'll have to lose Eli one day. But for the first time in years, I feel like I'm treated like a person. Commenter 1, your options are: Eli was actually your stepchild who you just never felt the need to clarify the difference as you consider them your child. You and their parent have now broken up, so you won't have custody anymore. Eli's other parent is moving away and taking majority custody as there are better opportunities for schools. Eli was actually a long-term foster child who you intended to keep, but his parent has actually completed successful parenting courses, rehab, and parenting assessments and are now getting him back, or a rogue biological grandparent has come out of the woodwork who wants him. Eli dies in a bizarre accident. Commenter 2. When I started my first grown-up corporate job, I was 19 with no kids in a department of people 25-45, and they all had kids. Over time, as I got to know everyone and developed a good rapport with them, I found myself getting asked to cover someone's turn on the rotating late shift almost every holiday weekend. Eventually it got to where every single week, someone was asking me to cover their late day or work their weekend rotation because they had whatever going on with their kids. I didn't mind at first, but the first time I had a trip planned and had to tell someone that I couldn't cover them, she actually got an attitude and asked me, huffing and puffing, "Well, what am I supposed to do?" As if it were my problem and responsibility somehow. I was so caught off guard and taken aback that this woman, 10+ years older in a professional environment, is literally tantruming at me. I think in my shock I stammered something about asking some of the other people or talking to the manager, but I was at such a loss as to how to respond because, and she just cut me off with, "Forget it, I guess I'll just figure it out," and stomped off. That interaction really bothered me and opened my eyes to how entitled some of these people felt. Like their time is more important than mine. And how dare I suggest that they work the late shift or weekend shift that we are all required to work? And how dare I keep my plans for a once-a-year trip to visit my family when little Johnny has a runny nose? The difference in how much colder they began acting towards me as I said no more and more often was wild. Having people ignore and exclude you and pretend you don't exist because even though you covered them 99 times, you said no that one time was a harsh but necessary lesson about how people and things work in the real world. From that point on, I've made it a point to keep quiet and neutral about my personal life, and not to be someone who says yes so often that it becomes common knowledge, taken advantage of, and eventually even expected of me. Commenter 3, I'm not a kid person, like at all, no desire. I'd sooner give myself a pap smear with a rusty knife I found in a Wendy's parking lot in a puddle than get pregnant. Luckily, my best friend has 4 kids, so whenever the conversation at work inevitably shifts to kids, I use them for my stories. Not quite the same, but I find it gives me a bit of leeway. Commenter 4, I love children, but unfortunately was never able to have my own. That being said, I saw firsthand the sort of professional favoritism that some bosses extend to parents. Let me tell you about the most blatant. 13 years ago, I was going through a divorce escaping my abuser. My boss pulled me into his office to discuss my use of PTO. I had to go to the court hearings. My ex had left the state and wasn't participating in the divorce. I wanted it done as quickly as possible, so I had to go. As I was sitting in the boss's office arguing why I should be able to use my PTO for this, for legal reasons, a co-worker came in who was a single mom whose parents had her son during the day, and she said, "Hey, can I use PTO this afternoon? I'm just really missing my son and want to be with him," right in front of me. Boss says, "Okay, enjoy your afternoon." I ended up being suspended for abusing my PTO for court. Ashley got to use hers to go hug her kid. It definitely sucks that there is a difference in the way working parents and non-parents are treated in the workplace. Then you have parents that don't want or expect special treatment in the workplace, and those are the ones I enjoy working with. Stories number 13, Aita for not letting my ex-husband and one of his future stepkids come inside. Our custody arrangement is for each of us to pick the kids up on our day during our 2-hour pickup window. He arrived at the house, and I already had the boys ready. I saw his car pull into the driveway on my camera, so the boys were already halfway to the door when my ex knocks. I open the door, and he is holding the hand of a 4-year-old. He asks to come in and says his fiance's son needs to use the bathroom. I told him I don't want him to come inside, because I don't feel comfortable with him in my house. He has a history of snooping through my things. He asked me to take his future stepson to the bathroom, and I said I was uncomfortable with the situation. He said his stepson needed to pee. I suggested the McDonald's up the road. He said my bathroom would be way cleaner than a McDonald's. At this point, my 11-year-old started pestering his dad to stop so they could leave. My ex said, "Your brother needs to use the bathroom." My son said, "I'll take him." My ex said, "No. Your mother would rather he pee his pants. We'll go, and hopefully we'll get to the McDonald's in time." My ex and the boys left. He messaged me afterwards saying I was cruel to a child to punish him, and that's not okay. He said I made us both look bad in front of our kids and should be embarrassed of my actions. I have been fighting with him for so long, my perspective is screwed up. Was I in the wrong? Relevant comments can updo the exchanges at McDonald's. Reply: that doesn't work, because he will be late. And then if I go home, he'll want me to come back and then say I'm denying him his custody time. Judge said he can have a 2-hour window for pickup. But it's not fair to me to have to sit in a parking lot for 2 hours. So this is what was agreed upon with the judge for both of us. It's not perfect, but everything else we tried was worse. Why 2-hour window? Reply: my ex said he needs the window because he helps take care of his fiance's 2 small children, who sometimes cause unavoidable delays. Does OOP's attorney knows about this issue about her ex trying to gain access to her house and the child exchange window time? Reply: he knows about the windows, but I didn't tell him about what happened yet because I'm still processing it. He's already dealing with the complaint my ex made about me taking the boys to see Superman after he told me he wanted to take them. I am so anxious about telling him there's a new issue. Did OP take her sons to see Superman after her ex told her that he wanted to take them? Reply: yes. The boys wanted to watch Superman the day it came out, which was during my custody time. I told them I would take them. He texted me afterwards saying he doesn't want me to take them because he wants to do it. I told the boys their dad wants to take them, and they could decide between going with me or going with him. They wanted to go the day it came out. There's no rule saying he can tell me not to take them to movies he wants to take them to. So I took them. Why did the ex bring his future stepkid with him? Reply: I really don't understand why he brought him. I think the sister was in the car too. I'm not sure. But I think I saw her in the car on my camera afterwards. I hope not though, because that means he left her alone in the car while he was on my stoop, which makes me so anxious. Commenter 1: okay, so I like to ask my husband these scenarios and get his 2 cents. He seems to think, because you have stated you've had multiple problems with the ex, that this was more about control. He wanted you to do what he said. Was the boy hurting and crying because he had to go? If not, my spouse thinks it was a power play by your ex. If it were me, I would have asked my son to take him and told the ex to go wait in his car. But if this douche just like to jerk you around then NTA, reply. He was holding my ex's hand and kind of looking around. He didn't say anything. OOP on her kids' ages, and how they make their own decisions between her and their father. Reply, my oldest is 11, and my younger son is 6. No one was forced to do anything. They were given a choice. Do you want to stick with the original plan? Or with the new information available to you that your dad specifically wants to take you? Would you rather wait and go with him? Life is all about making choices, and my job as a mother is to provide my children with a safe environment to make those choices, so they develop good decision-making skills that will serve them well in adulthood. Update Aita for not letting my ex-husband and one of his future stepkids come inside. I did talk to my lawyer about what happened. He said we can address it at the hearing we already have scheduled about the movie situation. I thought that was that. But of course it was my turn to pick up the kids today. When I arrived at my ex's place, he opened the door very wide and invited me in. I was suspicious and said no thank you. He kept insisting I come in so we can show the kids we are civil, but I had a bad feeling. I said I would just wait in the car for the boys to come out. I got in my car and texted my older son that I was there. A short while later he texted me back saying his dad said they couldn't leave unless I got them. I went back to the door and knocked again. Again, my ex invited me inside. I said I didn't want to come in, and that was when my boys showed up. My ex's fiancé was right behind them, telling them to come back upstairs. They ran to me, and we left. I don't know what his game is, but I'm not falling for it, whatever it is. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Make a note and send it to lawyer. Basically kidnapping your kids. All meetings are now at a public location, so don't pick McDonald's or a place where the kids will want and expect junk food. No more pickups at house and don't even get out of your car. Reply. It's not up to me. The judge decided on the current system. Commenter 2. Have your boys said anything they might have heard, seen? Weird she'd be trying to pull them back. You are definitely NTAH, gotta protect them children. Get drop-offs in public areas instead of homes. Good luck. Reply. My son said he wanted to go downstairs when I was at the door, but my ex's fiancé said he needed to wait. Then when I texted him, he went downstairs, but my ex sent him back up. When he heard me at the door the second time, he ran downstairs with my younger son. He doesn't know why they wanted me to come in, but it's pretty clear they did. OOP explains why she left her ex. Reply, you want to know something funny? Spending time with him was the best part. It was everything else that sucked. I had no privacy. He went through my phone and computer almost every night. If I asked to use my phone while he was going through it, I was hiding something. He would dig through the drawers looking for hidden stuff and mess everything up. And if I complained, he would do it again because there must have been something there if I was complaining. I had to account for every penny I spent. Every moment I wasn't being productive. When we were doing things together, he was so charming, funny and sweet. He's so handsome and smart and fit. But it got to the point where I was scared whenever he wasn't around, because I couldn't trust myself to make decisions without his approval. I was becoming a shell of myself. Commenter 3 NTA. Your previous posts state the kids are 11 and 6. They are old enough for curbside exchanges. Have your lawyer request that the parent doing the pickup will text the other parent when they are on their way with an ETA and must remain in their car when they arrive. They will text the other parent when they arrive. The children must send out within 5 minutes. This allows time for the kids to get ready with their items and have used the bathroom if needed. If this is granted, get a ring camera and a dashboard camera as proof when he violates the orders. Reply, this sounds like a great idea. I wonder if my lawyer could convince the judge was the ex violent toward OOP. Reply, he's not physically violent, he once told me, after we'd seen someone in public slap their child, in a tone of absolute disgust. Anyone who uses violence on their family not only can't control their family, but they can't control themselves. That's pathetic. He never hit me. Even when the divorce was at its worst levels of contention, he told me I was worthless, that no man would ever want me, that I was nothing without him. But he never touched me. Second update. Aita for not letting my ex-husband and one of his future stepkids come inside. Just concluded our hearing, and it went okay, all things considered. Judge said that neither of us need the permission of the other to take the children to age-appropriate experiences like movies. He told ex not to tell me I can't take the kids to do certain things because he wants to do them. If he wants to do them, he can, but so can I. So that was a win. Judge was annoyed that there was another drop-off issue. He was especially annoyed because the reason he gave my ex a 2-hour window for drop-offs was because he said he needed the flexibility since he is a caretaker of his fiance's children. If he's taking them with him to drop-offs, why does he need 2 hours? Judge told him do not take his fiance's children to my house, and do not ask to come inside my house. He told me not to ask to go inside his house either. He also told me not to rush my ex and to be patient and allow the children time to come to the door. I wasn't rushing him, but I didn't say that to the judge. I just agreed. X also dropped the bombshell that the week of the wedding he needs me to pick the kids up from the resort the wedding is at instead of his house, because they are going on their honeymoon straight from the resort and not returning home. I am very uncomfortable with this, and my lawyer said that is too much of a burden to put on me. The judge disagreed with my lawyer and said we all have to be flexible sometimes, so I'm stuck doing that. I feel like he intentionally started fights about the previous 2 issues he knew he would lose on, so the judge would side with him on the final issue to make things fair. Maybe I'm just paranoid. So 2 wins and a loss. Hopefully they'll be too happy about being married to pull any stunts. Relevant comments. Could OP stay at the hotel on the day of the wedding once her sons are done at their father's wedding? Reply, it is not a long drive. The resort is right outside the city. I cannot stay at the hotel as that is not within my budget, and I have no interest in using their pool and then being shamed for doing so by my ex-husband's friends and family. I cannot think of a less appealing prospect. Is OP allowed to record the pickup after the wedding? Reply, my lawyer said it's fine to have a ring camera or a dash cam, but not to record things on my phone unless my ex is doing something really bad. Because our judge really hates people who record everything and it will prejudice him against me. Can OP bring a witness with her for the pickup? Reply, if I bring someone with me, won't that introduce another chaotic variable? I can control my own actions. I can't control theirs. My friends all hate my ex. If I bring one, that in and of itself could be interpreted as a hostile act. My sister is completely unpredictable. Commenter 1. I know it sucks that you have to drive to get them, but this is great news about the rest. He has additional rules that stick forever, while you are only inconvenienced once. If you could only win on 2, I'm glad it was the 2 you got. Reply, you are correct. I feel good about that, even though I am incredibly stressed out. I am worried he is going to try to trick me into doing or saying something that can be perceived as hostile, and tell the judge I sabotaged his wedding. Commenter 2. If the pickup window is 8:10 a.m., what time is the ceremony? You said your son is a part of the wedding, and the earliest I can see the ceremony being is 9 a.m. Who picked the pickup window? If your son has a phone, ask him to text you after the ceremony is finished, and park 5 am away from the resort to wait until then, even if that's just the side of the road. Also, tell your lawyer your plan. It sounds like your ex is playing stupid games, and I'm sure he will be receiving his stupid prizes soon. Reply. To the best of my understanding, the wedding will end very late the night before, and their flight is sometime in the afternoon of the pickup day. I don't really understand the logistics of the thing. I am less stressed now though because at today's pickup my ex just stayed in the car and texted our oldest that he was here. Progress. 3rd update. Aita for not letting my ex-husband and one of his future stepkids come inside? Well, I thought I would update everyone on what happened when I picked my kids up from my ex-husband's wedding. First of all, I got there at 8:20. As soon as I arrived, I texted my ex and my older son that I was there. Then I walked into the lobby. I checked my phone and had no response from either. I waited until 8:40 and then walked to the front desk. I said I was there to pick up my children, and asked if maybe my ex had left a message at the desk for me. They knew nothing. I called my older son, and he didn't answer. I called my ex, and he didn't answer. At this point, my anxiety was bad, and I felt sick. At 9, I called my lawyer, and his receptionist said he would call me back. I kept calling my older son, and he didn't answer. This was unusual for him. I was scared something had happened. I asked the front desk which room they were in, and they couldn't tell me, which I understood. At 9:20, I called the police. It took them a while to get there. When they arrived, it was past 10. The pickup window. I was panicking. All I could think was that my ex was going to tell the judge I was late. When the police arrived, they asked the front desk for my ex's room number. They told the police he had checked out. I didn't know what to think. They asked the front desk if they had kids with them when they left, and they said no. They said my kids were actually booked in a suite with her kids and his parents, and they had paid for late checkout. The officers told me to wait downstairs and went to the room. They came back with my kids and their stuff, and we left. My oldest said his grandfather took his phone away, and they stayed up late and had no alarm set. Both boys said their grandparents were furious when the cops showed up. My lawyer eventually called me back, and we scheduled another custody hearing for after the honeymoon. At the hearing, my ex tried to put everything on me. He said he told me the kids would be with his parents, he didn't, and that I staged the whole thing to make him look bad. He also said me calling the police traumatized the kids. I showed the judge all of our communication. The judge even interviewed my kids, who said even they didn't know they would be with their grandparents until the prior evening, by which point my oldest's phone has already been confiscated. The judge gave me primary custody with visitation and said all pickups and drop-offs will now be at neutral locations with a 30-minute window. He was done, he was pissed. My ex has filed to have our case transferred to another judge because this one is clearly biased against him. In the meantime, though, the boys and I are happy and doing well. They're both getting great grades so far this year. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, you're such a saint. I would have lost all patience with your ex before this point. Just reading this is exhausting, so I can only imagine how you feel. I'm glad things seem to be working out for you and the kiddos. Hopefully your ex can't switch judges. Reply, I hope so too. But honestly, I think he'll get his way. He is very convincing. But I won't cross that bridge until I get to it. Commenter 2, your ex is gonna learn a lesson about family court judges. When you file to have a case transferred and the previous judge was competent and followed the law, and did what was best for the kids, the next judge tends to get pissy that someone is attempting to skirt a legal ruling simply because they don't like it. Reply, I hope that's the case in this instance. Commenter 3, just wow. You must have been extremely worried as time went by. It sounds like the grandparents are as inconsiderate as your ex. And what a miserable way for ex to behave on his wedding day, not treating the children or you well at all. I don't think he will have a lot of luck getting any judge to see his actions as responsible. The clincher is that no message was left for you at reception. Reply, I don't think they are simply inconsiderate. I think all their actions are deliberate. They wanted to take the kids home with them. Commenter 3, I had not even thought of that. Why would they have even thought that was okay? I do think they showed themselves up by getting angry when the police arrived. If I had been one of them, and understood you had been trying to find the kids, I would have been embarrassed to have been part of upsetting you and really mad at my son for putting you in that position. The fact they got angry says a lot about them and why their son behaves as he does. Reply, my kids said they were arguing with the cops and trying to tell them I was mentally unwell and had staged the whole situation. Apparently the cops wouldn't talk to them other than to say they had to stay upstairs while they took the boys and their things to me. Commenter 4, I doubt X will be successful with another judge. Your lawyer needs to get him to pay your legal fees for his nonsense. Reply, he pays all my legal expenses. That was part of the divorce settlement. Since he makes so much more money than me, I'd never be able to afford a good lawyer on my own. It's the only way to keep things fair. Commenter 5, what absolute bullshit behavior. How did the grandfather justify taking your son's phone, his only means of communication with you? Let's hope the future judge will read the file and see straight through your ex's behavior as well. So glad you got your custody. Good luck. Reply, my son said his grandfather told him he was being disruptive at the reception and had to give up his phone for the rest of the night as punishment. I am fairly certain my son was not being disruptive. Stories number 14 AITA. Mom kicked me out at age 22 with no place to move into, and got mad at me that I didn't take simple pictures. Hello, I, 22 female. Just got kicked out of my mom's, 58 female, house after being told I had less than a month to clear out the home and find somewhere else to live. For context, I have lived in this house for nearly 16 years. 3 of those years were after my mom moved out to live with her boyfriend, 62 male, several states away. I had my fair share of roommates, and even went through a divorce during those 3 years. My mom told me on September 30th, 2025 that I had till the end of October to clear out the entire home and find a new place to live. I worked 2 full-time jobs, so it was practically impossible for me to do everything on my own. I had the help of my wonderful boyfriend to guide me and help me through the whole process. It was exhausting, and I'm still very sore from all the heavy lifting. But I managed to clear out the house and find myself a place to live with my 6 cats. Well, as of yesterday, October 29th, 2025, I signed the title of the house to the new owner and received the money in cash. My mom had asked me to take pictures of the front and back of the signed title, but I had forgotten in the moment since my boyfriend was already taking a video of the whole process. The signing, the counting of money, and the handshake after closing the sale. My mom texted me this morning asking if I had gotten the pictures, and I told her I had forgotten. But that was cause I didn't realize the video wasn't good enough for her to see that everything was signed. Now she's not talking to me, and I think she's mad over not getting 2 pictures. But she got several videos of everything else. Edit for common questions? Yes, I was paying all the bills at the house. My mom gave me power of attorney to sell the house since she lives out of state now. I foster cats, which is why I have 6. 2 of the 6 are my mom's cats, so I foster 4. And it's a title, not a deed, because it's a mobile home. Edit number 2. Thank you to the people who have been super nice to me and have been saying that they are proud of me and the way I handled the situation. It definitely wasn't easy. This week has been a roller coaster. I'm happy it's almost over. I move into my new place today with my 2 cats and the 4 fosters. The fosters' new parents are picking them up around 7 p.m. It's currently 5:30 p.m. as I'm typing this edit. I am planning on getting into contact with my mom's best friend and making her go get pictures of the title, cause I am not stepping foot back into that place. I am done with that home and the toxicity it came with. That chapter is over in my life. Again, thank you for all the people who are supportive of me and what I have accomplished. To the haters, I don't care about your opinions. I did my best to accommodate my mother since she couldn't be here. She's got her money, and that's that. I am going low contact with her until she apologizes for yelling at me over pictures. Thank you, everyone. Commenter 1. Honestly, I don't even care about the post, girl. Your life sounds like a mess, holy God. Your mom didn't kick you out. She sold the home, a mobile home. 6 cats, roommates, are you for? A divorce at 22. Fostering 6 cats in a mobile home. Who approved that in AH, I guess. Your mom did nothing wrong. You, on the other hand? IDK and not exactly sane choices. Commenter 2. Let her be mad. She didn't come do this herself. She just left it to you, and you got it done. If she wanted to see it all done, she should have shown up. Let her be mad and let it roll off you like water off a duck's back. You have done more than your fair share. Good job, I'm proud of you. Commenter 3 NTA. You got kicked out at short notice, had to clear the place and find a new home. On top of all that, she wanted you to act as her agent and taken photos of the title deed. Then, because it didn't go exactly according to her plan, she is not talking to you. Give me a break. She is the A. If it was so important, she should have come over and taken the photos for herself. You had enough to do. Commenter 4, counting of the money. Did the buyers just give you a big stack of bills? Was it your house or your mom's? Post said it's her house, so she would have to be the one to sign the title. Maybe I'm confused, but none of this makes sense to me. Reply. My mom made me power of attorney for this since she lives in a different state. They handed me a stack of bills. Yes, stories number 15. Aita for not talking to my sil for cheating on my brother? Title says it all. My sil emotionally cheated on my brother. They went through a rough patch but eventually got back together. Since I found out brother lived with me during their break, I've completely distanced myself from her. I was, and still am, disappointed. Even after she and my brother made up, she tried reaching out a few times, but I ignored her every time, for my brother's sake. She'll be at my daughter's birthday. But outside of that, I'm choosing not to have any contact with her. This has been hard for me because we used to be very close. I never had a sister growing up, and she was the closest thing I had. What hurt the most is realizing she doesn't take accountability for her actions. Instead, she blames others, acts selfishly, and even cried to me expecting that I'd defend her terrible choice for cheating. Comments. Commenter 1. It sounds like you're grieving the relationship you thought you had with her, which makes this harder. But if she's not owning what she did, keeping your distance is reasonable. Commenter 2. OP is not just grieving the relationship she thought she had. She's grieving the loss of the person she thought her sister-in-law was. When someone is unfaithful, it changes the way you view them. Add in the fact that she doesn't take accountability and blames others for her actions and plays the victim. OP is realizing that her personality is not the type of person she wants to have a relationship with. It doesn't matter if her brother forgives her. Her view on the sister-in-law's morals and values has changed. If you don't see eye to eye with someone's morals and values, it is nearly impossible to have a friendship, let alone a close relationship with them. Reply. You have no idea how much I've cried. I held it together at work, only to break down in tears on my way home. Even though 2 weeks has passed, I am still so disappointed, hurt and sad. He may have forgiven her, but I just can't. I've tried, but I can't make sense of it. Commenter 3. He probably forgave her in bed. She doesn't have the same opportunity with you, so she can't fix it. With you, the harsh truth can't be smothered under a heavy blanket of, there was nothing. Babe, I only love you's reply. I know sucks. I'll just isolate myself from her entirely. Once my daughter's birthday is over, I'll completely stop. Commenter 4. How has she not taken responsibility for her actions? I'm not asking in her defense, but rather to better understand the situation. Reply. Instead of apologizing, she turned it back on him, blaming him for being self-employed rather than having a full-time job, saying she never wanted to get married young and just wanted to enjoy Ikik, and even admitting she isn't emotionally attached to him, and it's his fault. She also blamed her acts on grieving over her dead sister, saying it's been affecting her and that she needed someone to talk to. Honestly, it's so messed up because who in their right mind thinks sending naughty pics and sexting is a part of grieving? Commenter 5. I believe you mean grieving. Grieving means to cause grief. Whereas you're talking about mourning her sister, yeah, NTA, if she wants to be a victim, then give her a reason to feel like a victim. When she complains about it, just tell her that you'll reconsider after she starts taking responsibility for her own behavior. Commenter 6. It's okay to be upset and grieve, but I fear this will inevitably hurt your brother and you over time. If he can forgive your Esil, can you forgive and be cordial? Reply. Honestly, even if I were to forgive her, I know our friendship has changed. I'll never see her the same way again. I did also realize that this might affect my relationship with my brother. But at the end of the day, I have to choose myself and my peace first. Selfish, but what she did was also selfish. Commenter 7. As long as you know that you will lose your brother, and believe it's worth it, then you're good. It's a terrible thing and I'm sorry for your loss of a sister. I actually had a similar thing where a close friend cheated and also blamed everyone but herself for her actions after it ended. It was so gross to me I ended the friendship a few years later after trying to keep it going. Got a lot of shit for it, but I don't regret it. It did irreversibly change how I saw her, and I never forgot it. It wasn't even about the cheating at that point, but her lack of accountability. It's very disappointing when someone you love is actually someone else that you never knew. Reply, I know, I am very sorry to hear that too. It sucks that some people are so evil. Update, hi everyone. It's been about a month since my last post, and I've received a few messages asking for an update. So here it is. The birthday itself was very awkward, but I kept things civil for the sake of my brother and the guests. I didn't want to make anyone uncomfortable. Everything went fine. After the party, she tried reaching out to me through social media, but I didn't respond. About a week later, I saw my brother again for the first time in a while at a mutual friend's house. His wife came to pick him up. His car was at the mechanic, and I said goodbye to him and ignored her completely. It wasn't out of rudeness. It was simply my decision and a boundary I chose to keep. My husband and best friend told me to cut ties, as this also deeply affected me. A day or so after, my brother called me to tell me she cried the entire way home because I didn't acknowledge her, and that she believed our friendship was ruined forever. That honestly caught me off guard. It felt selfish because she didn't show any sympathy when my brother was breaking things off with her. Yet the moment I stopped acknowledging her, she became an emotional wreck. I feel as if she was more upset about losing me than about what she did to him. Then things escalated. She gave my brother an ultimatum. Cut your sister off to show you respect me. That caused a huge argument between them to a point where her father got involved. Her father took my brother's side. He told her that she needed to ask for my forgiveness, and that just because my brother forgave her doesn't mean everyone else has to. Then, she planned to come over the same day to apologize and beg for forgiveness. Without informing us, just knock on the door and welcome herself in. My brother called to warn me, and I told him very clearly that I didn't want her near my home, and she should have thought about her consequences before she cheated. She kept insisting, but I told him I wouldn't open the door. Eventually, he convinced her to stay away. I spoke to my best friend about this, and she advised me to remove her from my social media since she kept trying to contact me, and it was affecting me. So, I did. That apparently led to another breakdown. She cried for almost 24 hours, which caused yet another argument between her and my brother. I tried calling him to check in, but he didn't answer. Later, he told me she accused him of not respecting her because he was still speaking to me. Ridiculous if you ask me, because if she truly respected him, she wouldn't have cheated. She throws tantrums whenever he tells her to cut off the bad influence guy friends and due to trust issues, yet expects him to cut me off because I set my boundaries with her. Over time, his calls became less frequent. When he does call, it's usually when he's at work, in his car, or somewhere away from home. He can't talk freely because she apparently uses Google Translate when we speak in our mother's tongue, and starts arguments afterward based on the one word she picked up. Eventually, he stopped calling altogether to avoid the chaos. I don't fully understand why he's still with her, but I'm trying to stay supportive. His mental health has taken a serious hit as he's emotionally drained, and at this point, my main concern is his well-being. Whatever happens in their relationship, I'll be here for him. He's my brother, and I just want him to be okay. TLDR, my sister-in-law cheated on my brother. I cut her off and refused to speak to her. She's been trying to get my forgiveness, causing drama, and emotionally manipulating my brother. His mental health is declining. But I'm staying supportive while keeping my distance from her. Comments commenter 1. NTA, it seems that she's more upset and focused on how she's being perceived by other people because she cheated than she is about trying to rebuild the relationship with your brother. And I think you definitely hit the nail on that. She is more focused on herself and how she feels in this situation than your brother. Her telling your brother to cut you out because you won't acknowledge her again, because she did something incredibly shitty and you're showing loyalty to him, shows that she doesn't care about him in the situation. She only cares about herself and her ego. Keep her out, get some security cameras for your front door. Commenter 2, true, she's not sorry, she's just embarrassed. And that's a huge difference. Commenter 3, Ente, your brother need to grow a pair. Commenter 4, agreed. She sounds like a really piece of work. Commenter 5, she cheats and expects everyone to go one like nothing happened. When they don't, she gives the brother an ultimatum to cut family off. I understand there are times to cut family and run, but this wasn't it. Then the pushover starts to obey. When they break up, OP needs to bust his balls over this. Commenter 6. No disrespect in NTA for cutting off the POS cheater, but your bro is a complete codependent bonehead, whom she has wrapped around her finger. He's gonna learn the hard way again, sadly. Reply, I know. And he knows too. I pray that once he leaves, he never looks back again. He deserves so much better. Stories number 16. I called a bad driver's company. I was driving down the motorway with my family. I was a passenger, and the car beside us swerved suddenly. My mother had to also swerve to avoid a collision, and accidentally cut across the guy in the van behind us. The guy behind us then veers out into the lane beside us, speeds up so he's level with our window, one hand on the wheel and the other making obscene gestures as he's clearly shouting. He isn't paying attention to the road at all. My mother flips him off in return and tries to slow so he goes ahead. But then he slows his van so he can continue gesturing and shouting. After swerving all over the lane, he finally speeds off ahead. The thing is, this van was a company van. It had the name and logo on the side. So I took a photo of his license plate and called the company. I told the woman who answered the phone, I just want to inform you that I am driving down motorway and the man driving one of your company vans with the registration number is driving extremely aggressively and dangerously. She thanked me for informing her, made a note of the license plate, and told me that the incident would be investigated. Hope he enjoys his disciplinary ETA, El Mao at the people who are accusing me of being a Karen. I want to reiterate that the one reason my mother cut the guy in the van off was because a different car swerved suddenly from their lane into ours, and would have hit us if she hadn't swerved as well to avoid them. She also only flipped the van driver off because he was already being aggressive. The reason I called was primarily because it was raining heavily, and his reckless and aggressive driving could have caused a serious accident. The road was slippery, and there was bad visibility. If someone had come up behind him when he suddenly hit the brakes to come back level with us, they would have gone right into him and not been able to slow or stop in time. Commenter 1. I did the opposite once. I was driving on an interstate highway, maybe a quarter-mile behind a cement mixer truck. Light traffic, late morning sunshine, so good visibility. I had been slowly gaining on it for the preceding few miles, when I saw it suddenly slam on the brakes, complete with smoke coming off the tires. When I got closer, I saw a small car driving in reverse towards an exit that I am guessing they had missed. That cement mixer would have crushed that car. I finally caught up to the mixer, and got the company name and "How's my driving" phone number. The driver of the mixer was a young male, maybe 19, 22 years old. When I got to my destination, I called the number. Be nice to the driver of truck number XYZ. He has had a rough morning. Some idiot was driving in reverse on the freeway, and he did not turn that car into confetti. I got the impression that the lady that answered my call had never received a compliment on that phone line. Commenter 2, probably will be ignored. I've called those numbers a few times. Once the guy that picked up was the owner of a plumbing company I'd seen at my neighbor's house. Told him I saw him cut off someone in traffic and looked like the driver was road raging. He told me to F off. Told him I knew the neighbor and would be telling the neighbor about his behavior. He became really nice, told the neighbor anyways. Dude did not get the contracted work. Commenter 3. I worked in a little village area that had a meter maid. She wrote a dump truck a parking ticket. The meter is 25 cents for an hour. The ticket is a whopping $10. Driver got angry and followed and pushed the meter maid. Cops are called and he speeds off with his girlfriend in the work truck. Hits 3 cars. Cop pull him over and call the company. Driver arrested. Company sends another driver to get the truck. Guy is fired on the spot. Arrested and liable for damage, all for not putting in a quarter. Commenter 4. So far, whenever I have called a company about someone's faulty driving, usually small companies, they will investigate. They do not want their company van out of action because of someone's bad driving. Last time I phoned up was because the driver of a van had not hooked up the trailer's lights. In low light levels, I was struggling to see the trailer. Stories number 17. AIO for locking myself in the guest room after my husband kept testing my reactions during arguments. My husband 34M and I 30F rarely argue. But when we do, he has this habit of testing how far I'll go. For example, if I tell him to stop raising his voice, he'll say, "Why, what are you gonna do?" and then purposely raise it louder. Or if I walk away to calm down, he'll follow me saying, "You can't just walk away. You always do this." Last week we got into a stupid argument over chores. He started mimicking me, repeating everything I said in a high-pitched voice and laughing. I told him to stop because it felt like he was trying to provoke me. He said, "See, you always make yourself the victim." So I locked myself in the guest room and stayed there the whole night. I could hear him outside saying I was being dramatic and that a real adult doesn't storm off. The next morning, he acted like nothing happened. When I brought it up, he told me I overreacted and that I took a time out like a toddler. I honestly just didn't want to scream or say something I'd regret. But now I'm wondering, was locking myself away too much? Am I overreacting for not wanting to argue his way anymore? Commenter 1 Nor, fuck all that. That's not just testing. He's rage baiting and being a dick, especially with the mimicking. How were you not the victim of his mocking you? I wouldn't have been able to keep my composure so good on you, OP. You did not act like a toddler. You're the only one who did the mature thing. You stopped and took space so you wouldn't do or say something damaging. I would say keep locking yourself in till he figures out how to not act like a fucking 9-year-old. And probably should go to counseling. He's never gonna actually hear it when it comes from you. But when a third party tells him how ridiculous and immature it is, obviously they'll say it different. But that will be the vibe of what they say. He may listen then. Commenter 2. He's manipulative, playing testing games to aggravate you and pull you away from the topic at hand. All couples have conflicts. Mature couples expect that and work on skills to talk them through. Your husband turns any conflict into an opportunity to mess with you, most likely to protect himself from having to face any actual consequences. He's a mean and manipulative man-child. Commenter 3. He seems like a child who can't communicate. That is not how you treat someone. Even when having an argument, he yells louder to push buttons, doesn't allow you space to calm and collect thoughts, and mocks you. This is shit I did to my brother as a child when I wanted to fight with fists and vice versa. Wasn't a good household over it now and see how toxic and terrible it is. Commenter 4. I had a mother like this. He's invalidating your feelings and picking fights. I just say from my experience, you're focusing on your reaction to the exchange, that you left and not the reason you left. Being met with behavior meant to provoke you, and then when you react are responded to as if you reacted out of thin air. Conveniently not addressing his behaviors up until that point. You're trying to protect yourself. Stories number 18. Aita for refusing to co-sign my sister's mortgage after my parents went behind my back. I 28F have been busting my butt for years to save for my own house. I work in software, so I make decent money, but it still takes forever to build up a good down payment. Meanwhile, my younger sister 25F is in grad school with barely any credit. Our parents, both mid-50s, found a house near them and decided she needs it. They made an offer, without telling me, and now the deal only goes through if I co-sign. The problem. I had no clue they'd do this. My parents basically dropped a bomb. You have the best credit score. Co-sign so your sister can get the house. They also hinted I should chip in for the down payment because you've got the money. If I co-sign, I'll be on the hook if my sister can't pay. She's still in school, has debt, and zero backup plan. The bank might also reject my future mortgage application since they'll see I'm already tied to another loan. But my parents say I'm selfish and forgetting family values. My sister's calling me a monster for leaving her stranded, and my mom threatened to cut off any future financial help like wedding money if I don't help right now. Some relatives think it's insane my parents tried to rope me into this after they already made the offer. Others say I should just do it for the family's sake. I feel guilty, but also mad they put me in this spot, Aita for protecting my own finances. Or are they wrong for strong-arming me into co-signing a mortgage I never wanted in the first place? Edit, I'm actually adopted. LMAO forgot to mention in my confused and angry state. My parents adopted me when I was very young because they'd been struggling to conceive. A few years later, they had my younger sister naturally, which was a huge deal to them. She was their miracle baby, ever since. It's felt like my role in the family became the older, adopted one, while she was the golden child who could do no wrong. Growing up, I was expected to pitch in more, be more responsible, and generally look out for my sister. I worked my butt off in school, snagged scholarships, and eventually landed a good job in software. All the while, I felt like my family mostly saw me as the fallback option, in case anyone needed financial or emotional support. Now that I'm actually building my own life, saving for a house, focusing on my career, I'm realizing how my success just makes me look like a bigger piggy bank to my parents. The more independent I become, the clearer it is that I need to separate myself from the constant guilt trips and the unspoken expectation that I'll always bail them or my sister out. I love them, but I can't keep sacrificing my own future to maintain a dynamic where I'm never the priority. So thank you all for the wake-up call. Update to come. Comments, Commenter 1. Absolutely do not co-sign. NTA if you refuse. Let your mom not pay for the wedding. If she's threatening now, she will again. In the end she probably won't, but that's not the main reason not to co-sign. The main reason is there is a huge chance you will be in debt for a house that is not yours. Commenter 2, spoiler. They won't pay for your wedding anyway. They are broke arses, please don't sign. It will fuck you up in ways you can't even imagine yet. Commenter 3. Broke asses who care more about the golden child younger sister than their child who is actually taking charge of her own life. Commenter 4. Ding ding ding, and we have the answer. Why is sister the one that needs to own a house? Commenter 5. So your sister is the golden child and you are not. Don't co-sign the loan. Tell your parents to give your sister the wedding money, and since your finances won't be a dumpster fire, as they would if you co-sign the loan, you'll pay for your own wedding. And we'll be sure to send them a picture since obviously they won't be there. Tell them how much you appreciate them freeing you from having to care for them as they age, since that will fall 100% to your sister. NTA, but your family is really toxic. Update. Okay, so here's where I'm at. I'm absolutely not signing my sister's mortgage, and I'm definitely not pitching in for any down payment. This whole thing was the final push I needed to realize how messed up our family dynamic has been for ages. I mean, I've always known it was bad, but having them basically try to volunteer me and my finances without even asking just crossed a line I can't ignore anymore. I'm done. I've decided to cut ties. I'm already in the process of dropping any financial entanglements we might have. Cutting off shared accounts, making sure they can't use my information for anything, and basically scrubbing them from my finances. My job lets me work remotely, so I'm planning to move out of state soon. That was always in the back of my mind, but now it feels urgent. I need space, distance, and a real shot at a normal life without the constant guilt trips. I'm also locking down my credit, freezing it, changing passwords, everything. I'm not taking any chances that someone might try to open a line of credit in my name. I've seen enough horror stories and I'm not about to become one. Thankfully, I'm not alone in all this. My close friends have been incredible. They're basically my real family at this point, helping me pack, offering me a place to stay if I need it, reminding me that I'm not crazy for wanting to protect my future. They've been the biggest source of support, and I'm honestly so grateful to have them in my corner. So yeah, that's it. I'm not signing, I'm leaving, I'm done. If my family wants to blow up at me for abandoning them, so be it. I've got to look out for myself, my credit, and my sanity. Here's to hoping things only get better from here. Everyone who commented their 2 cents are amazing people, and I thank you all for your support while I'm dealing with this. Truly thank you. Comments, Commenter 1. Be sure to freeze your credit with all 3 bureaus and freeze your social security number as well. Commenter 2. I would also contact the financial institution that is issuing the mortgage and tell them you're not involved in case they forge your signature. They have your social security number and may have already had the bank run your information. Commenter 3. I read your other post and am so glad to read this update. Perhaps a new phone number when you move? Also, I wouldn't tell them your address. Yeah. I move out west when you really moved east, north, south. Lock or privatize your socials and look up gray rocking towards your family. Your life is about to open up and flourish, and I'm so excited for you. Update. Discovered a credit card in my name. Okay, I was really hoping the update post would be the last one, but here I am. I didn't expect it to turn into a bigger mess. After deciding not to co-sign the mortgage for my sister, I started taking extra precautions with my finances, locking down my credit, pulling my full credit reports like you all suggested. I wanted to be absolutely sure no one could use my information without me knowing. That's when I stumbled on an active credit card I didn't open. Some of you guys warned me, and I guess I wasn't fast enough to lock down. It's been around for a couple of years now. It was being used, but I'm assuming my parents wanted to keep it from me with the intention of using it as leverage. As of yesterday, the statements show purchases that look a lot like household expenses. The billing address on file points right back to my parents' home. I confronted them, via text, because I'm currently a couple hours away with a close friend. They claimed I benefited from these expenses, which doesn't make much sense. Like, how did, because they never helped me with setting up my own apartment. Also, it explains why they assumed I'd be okay with co-signing. Turns out they've been using my credit for a while. Needless to say, I feel completely betrayed. This wasn't some tiny oversight. My parents have been quietly using my name to fund their expenses. Now I'm talking to a professional to figure out whether I should dispute the charges or close the account outright without tanking my own credit in the process. It's nerve-wracking realizing how they went behind my back even before this mortgage BS. At this point, I'm even more determined to move out of state to get distance from all this. My job is thankfully remote-friendly, so relocating won't wreck my career. My friends have been amazing, offering support so I don't completely lose my mind. If it weren't for them, I'd be a mess right now. I'm not trying to be vindictive or overdramatic, I just need to protect myself. The trust is gone, and I don't see how I can maintain a healthy relationship with people who thought this was okay. It's sad, and I wish it didn't come to this, but I've got to prioritize my own future. I'll let you know if anything else major happens, but for now I'm focused on fully separating my finances from my family, getting ready to move, and making sure I don't pay the price credit-wise for something I never agreed to. It's scary, but I'm hoping it'll be worth it to finally have a life and a credit score of my own. Comments. Commenter 1. Well, if they opened credit in your name, that is considered identity theft. You should file a police report. Let the chips fall where they may. Commenter 2. Yes, definitely file a police report. They should be held accountable. Let it be the FO to their FA. Commenter 3. 100% this. Call cops. They need the FO part of the FA update. A year after cutting off my family, my name showed up on a recorded deed of trust edit. I'm reposting here since it got taken down on Aita. I had some drama last year that I posted about and was hoping I'd just be able to repost there. So here it is. Last year I cut my parents off and thought that was the end. They tried to force me to co-sign a mortgage for my younger sister, called me selfish when I refused, and I found a credit card opened in my name at their address. I froze my credit, shut everything down, moved out of state and told myself, done. No more access. I was wrong. This week a letter from the county recorder shows up about a newly recorded deed of trust with my updated address. I pull the record. My full legal name is co-borrower, a signature that's supposed to be mine, and a hometown notary stamp, but she'll lose her house. If your roof depends on a forged co-borrower, you never had a house, you had a countdown. This week a letter from the county recorder shows up about a newly recorded deed of trust with my updated address. I pull the record. My full legal name is co-borrower, a signature that's supposed to be mine, and a hometown notary stamp. I did not apply for this loan. I did not sign this loan. I was not even in the same state the day they claim I sat with a notary. I called the lender's fraud department and asked for the e-sign audit trail, the IP used for my signature. My parents' Wi-Fi. I emailed the notary. She replied in writing that she saw me over FaceTime and matched my ID from a photo my mom provided. That is not legal. That's, I didn't do my job and now I'm part of a crime. Here's what I have. The deed listing me as co-borrower, the fake signature and stamp, the lender's e-sign audit with their IP, records placing me out of state, and last year's police report from the secret credit card. So I acted, filed a police report for identity theft and forgery with exhibits, filed a state notary complaint with her written admission, filed an FTC identity theft affidavit, sent a fraud packet to the lender demanding removal of my name and treating the acknowledgement as defective, extended my 7-year fraud alert, refroze all bureaus, locked my USPS address, opened a P.O. box, retained a lawyer, sent my parents a written cease and desist. Stay out of my finances, all contact is email only. I'm not giving them time to fix it quietly. I'm not offering a refinance window. I'm not protecting them so my sister doesn't have to move. If this loan collapses, it's because they built it on my stolen identity. That's on them, but she'll lose her house. If your roof depends on a forged co-borrower, you never had a house, you had a countdown. This is absolutely ridiculous and I feel like I'm out of my mind. I thought this was all behind me, I guess not. I've had some amazing help over the last year trying to piece my life back together, but things are so shitty right now. I don't care if she ends up homeless, fuck them, I'm so done. Comments, commenter 1, good for you, OP, NTAH. Please keep us updated on what happens. Commenter 2, yes, you did what you had to do. Protecting yourself isn't being petty. It's survival. Commenter 3, biggest NTA in NTA history. Holy fuck. The assholery from your family and incomprehensible though. Stories number 19. Aita for prohibiting my mother from seeing my child because she's tricked him into thinking she's his mom. Throw away to avoid anyone recognizing me. I have a now 3-year-old son who was living with my mom, his grandma, for a year while I was away getting myself together. For personal reasons, I will not explain why I was away for so long, but I felt I needed to better myself for my son. My mother agreed to take care of him while I was away. I FaceTimed with him whenever I could. Fast forward to last month. I come to my mother's house to pick up my son. He's happy to see me, and me and my mother are talking while he's playing with his dinosaurs. He suddenly looks up at my mother and says, "Mommy, I'm thirsty." I was obviously confused, and asked my mother if she heard him call her mom. She laughed nervously, and said that he had been calling her that for a while. She basically explained that while I was away, she told him that she was his mom, and to call her that. I laughed and told her that I wasn't comfortable with that, since she wasn't the one who birthed him. I told her he should know that she's his grandmother, not his mom. She got upset and told me that he needed a mother figure while I was gone, and she was just trying to fill that role for him. She said something along the lines of, "I've been his mother for a year now, and you can't change it." We went back and forth until it got to the point where we started raising our voices. She spat out some insults about me being a bad mom for being away for so long and how she should be his mom cause he doesn't need a mom like me. I simply told her that she isn't going to be seeing him anymore because I'm not comfortable with him calling her mom. We gathered his stuff and left after that. She blew up my phone for days, talked some mess to family members, anything she could to make me feel bad, but I refused to forgive her, especially after all that stuff she said. Edit. A word for those of you saying I abandoned him. I didn't. I was too sick to take care of him. That's all I'm going to say about that. I couldn't be the best mother to him because of my medical issues. I wanted to be there for him. I didn't just dump him on my mother. I feel the need to explain that cause people are getting the wrong idea. It was possible for him to visit, but my mom said it would be best if he didn't see me like that, because he'd be too young to understand. And I trusted her, so I didn't allow him to visit. No. I wasn't in a mental hospital or rehab. It was physical health reasons. A lot of you are saying you think I was in rehab because of the way I've worded things in my post, rather than edit out the original. I'd just like to explain that it's probably not the best wording to use for this situation, and I understand that now. What I meant to say was I felt I needed to be in better health for my son. Getting myself together in my head pretty much means getting better and healthier. I apologize for that edit. This will probably be my last edit. My son is getting a therapist like a lot of you have recommended. I'm considering working things out with my mother, only because I don't want her fighting for custody. Still unsure though. Some of comments commenter. ESH. Were you in regular contact or just when you had the time? Did you have a set time when you'd be back? Or did she have reason to think you were gone for good? My opinion for right now is ESH reply. I FaceTimed him when I could. I was gone for serious medical issues, so it was hard for me to talk to him sometimes. There was no set time I'd be back. It all depended on when I got better. To another commenter, can't exactly raise my son if I can't even move from a hospital bed. To a third commenter, I had no choice but to leave him with her. I was physically unable to care for him due to my medical problems. I didn't leave him because I felt like it. I've already considered talking it over with my mother. One more, it was possible for him to see her, but my mom said it would be best if he didn't see me like that because he'd be too young to understand. And I trusted her, so I didn't allow him to visit. Upi's health, physical. Although I can't say my mental health while hospitalized was perfect either. To another commenter, I knew if I said hospitalized, people would start asking why, so I said for personal reasons, until people started assuming I abandoned him. Probably should have worded that part better. To a third commenter, I've never done drugs, commenter, info. Did he start calling her mom on his own, or did she tell him to call her mom? Reply, she told me she told him to call her mommy, and she was his mother. To another commenter, she told me she told him that she was his mom. That's how she tricked him. Commenter, how is your health now? Do you have backup guardian plans in a will should anything happen to you? What do you want to happen next? Reply, it is not completely resolved, but I am healthy enough to resume caring for my son. I am still receiving treatment, but it will only require multiple doctor visits a month. It's unlikely I will have to be hospitalized again, but just in case I do, he will be going with my sister. What I want to happen next, hopefully, is to talk this out with my mother so she doesn't actually try anything. But I'm not sure if that's a good idea right now. Timeline. I raised him until he was 2. Then I was hospitalized, and he went to my mother for a year. He was only with her for 1 year, but your point still stands. Update post. I just wanted to start out by saying, thank you everyone for the feedback that you gave me and the judgments. Whether they were negative or positive, I took each and every one of them into deep consideration. I accepted the judgment, and indeed realized that I was also being an asshole. My son has since seen a therapist, like a lot of you suggested he should. He's done pretty well, although the therapist suggested he continue therapy for a little longer, considering he's still confused about the situation. He knows I'm his mother, but essentially thinks he has 2 moms. I've done my very best to go slow with him and teach him who is his mom and who is his grandmother. Regarding his grandmother, I did what a lot of you suggested and let her FaceTime him every day for a couple hours. To not upset him, I did this until an incident involving her came up. I'm taking this to court. As much as I hate to further upset my son, I have come to the conclusion that she no longer needs to be in contact with us. At least not for a while. I'm sorry for all of you that this disappoints. I just want to do what's best for my son. As for my health, I am slowly getting better in case any of you were wondering. I have to visit my doctor several times a month, but that's an improvement, honestly. Thank you all. I wish this situation could have ended differently, but I was able to try to resolve it thanks to all of you. Some of comments, commenter, info. Sorry if this is sensitive, but I was curious of what incident happened that is making you go to court. Also, I think you're doing a wonderful job as a mother and wish you and you son the best in life. You don't have to answer my question. I guess I'm too curious for my own good. Reply, long story short. She tried to take him from me. To another commenter. She tried to take him from me in the middle of the night. Commenter, did she try to break in? Lure him outside? Sorry, super curious. Reply, she broke in. I forgot that I had given her a key to my house before I left for treatment. To another commenter. I woke up to the sound of the door opening. It squeaks when in the living room. Saw it was cracked. Went to check on my son, and she was in there getting him dressed to leave. The window in his room was also open, so I think she was gonna go out through there. Jail charges. I didn't want to press charges. The police said I should take it to court for a restraining order. They basically escorted her home, but she was not arrested. I don't think jail is a very good place for my mother, as she is almost 50. To another commenter. Not saying what she did is okay. I still care about her. She's my mother. I always will in some way. I'd rather move far away from her than let her rot in a jail cell. After I get my restraining order, I'll most likely be moving anyways. I don't expect anyone to understand, but I'm not a vengeful person. In my eyes, she needs help and therapy, not jail. To another commenter. The police already have the incident documented, I believe. Where is son's father, I don't know. He left the hospital when my son was born, and I haven't seen or heard from him since. Stories number 20. My 20F boyfriend 30M doesn't want me to go to uni. I want to go. Is there an alternative solution? For context, me and my boyfriend have been together for 8 months and have lived together for 4. He moved in with me. We both have full-time jobs, but I'm currently studying a course that will allow me to get into university in September. I haven't achieved much academically other than GCSEs, and I'd like to start a career, but I want qualifications and directions that going to uni can provide. My boyfriend thinks I should apply to Open University so I can do it online, but I also don't have many friends, because I moved away a few years ago, and am not close in any way with my family. I'm doing a year-long online course right now, and I feel quite isolated. So I think Open University might not be the best way for me to go. I'm looking for a university close by so that I can still live with him, but commute when I need to attend. His reasoning for not wanting me to go is that I'll cheat on him, find someone else younger and realize that our relationship isn't what I want. He's not controlling and weird. I did kiss my friend on a night out, so it's a valid fear. I don't see it as cheating, but he does, which is also valid. He also feels like he's at the point in his life where he wants to settle down and that we're at very different stages of life. So if I want to go to uni, that we should just break up. I'm really hurt that his immediate answer is to break up, and I'm trying to find a workable solution that means that we can still have our life together. But I also get qualifications and career clarity and make new friends. I really love him and absolutely do not want to break up, but I feel like this is something that I really want to do, and this is a great opportunity for me to do it. I get that we are in different stages in life, but it works for so many other people, and I want it to work for us too. I'm really struggling, and it feels like I have to choose between someone who I want to be with for the rest of my life, or getting the education that I want. What can I do? Comments. Commenter 1 girl. If you're 20 and you get together with a man 10 years older, if he isn't 100% supportive of you dedicating your time to uni career, you should run. Very, very fast, very, very far. Commenter 2. What you can do is kick out the 30-year-old man who doesn't want a college-age girl to get an education or make friends. FTR, I do think you will indeed realize that this weird old man isn't what you want once you stop being isolated. Like, what functional 30-year-old man moves in with an undergrad-age girl he barely knows? Commenter 3, IDK man. I'd go out and have a university experience and meet new people instead of staying with your controlling boyfriend who is 10 years your senior. That's just me though. Commenter 4, this a huge red flag. He is trying to control you and keep you from growing as a person, because you will very quickly outgrow him. That's also why he is dating someone with so much less life experience than him. I don't mean that as any slight to you, but it's an extremely common pattern. Stories number 21. My father passed away, and a friend of his claims my dad left him my 529 account. I am 23 and graduated college last December. My college was fully paid for using a 529 account my dad set up when I was young, and there was approximately $50K left over when I graduated. My dad passed away this past June, and has no real family other than me, so pretty much everything he had is coming to me. Unfortunately, his death was unexpected, and as such it's been a long process figuring out what all he had, where it is, setting up the estate and starting probate, etc. My dad had a friend, Bill, with whom he went to medical school. Bill had a rough time in life. He was kicked out of medical school due to substance abuse issues, had an awful marriage to a woman who continued to make his life hell, at least according to him, for years after they divorced, and has accrued a good amount of debt. Despite all this, my dad and Bill remained off-again, on-again friends. For most of my young life, they seemed close, and I saw Bill often. But as I got older, my dad seemed to grow more and more frustrated with him, and would avoid spending time with him whenever possible. My dad did relatively well for himself financially, but from what I'm told, Bill has struggled with debt for a long while before Dad's funeral. I had not seen or heard from Bill in several years, but in the last conversation I had with my dad about him, Dad was ranting about how he had loaned Bill $15,000, and that he was already asking for more without even saying a proper thank you. Due to medical reasons unrelated to his death, my dad wasn't quite himself mentally for the last few years of his life. So while he did have some choice words about Bill, I don't know how much of it was true or how much of it he really meant. Bill texted me today telling me he received a letter, I'm not sure from whom, but I assume Charles Schwab, telling him that my dad left him my 529 account, and asking me for information he needed to claim it: full name, SSN, address, etc. I know for certain that this is not in my dad's will, but I could imagine Dad may have put Bill as a successor on the account when they two were closer in case something happened to him while I was still a minor. If this account is rightfully his, I won't try to fight it, but I am a bit confused about all of this. If I'm the beneficiary on the account and I'm of age, do I not get that money for myself? I was planning on either putting it towards grad school or rolling it into a Roth IRA. Also, if he's the one claiming the account, why would he need so much of my information? I'm not sure how comfortable I feel giving Bill my SSN for an account I'm not even sure is supposed to be his, TLDR. A friend of my deceased father is claiming my dad left him my 529 account. There is money left in it, and I am not a minor. Does the account not go to me? Comments. Commenter 1. Do not give him any information until you have had the chance to consult a lawyer or the appropriate people who deal with the account. I think Bill is trying to scam you. Commenter 2. I've been in your situation. The situation is painful, but the answer is simple. Tell everyone that approaches you. Thanks for reaching out about this, and thanks for your kind words about my dad. There's a lot of work that needs to be done to settle the estate. Please send me what you have about this, and I will pass it on to the attorney. I can't tell you how long it will take to settle the estate, but feel free to reach out any time and I'll let you know where things are at. Most people who say they are entitled to part of the estate will go away if they believe an attorney is involved. They want to bluff you into giving them money, not deal with an attorney who will ask for proof of their claims. Commenter 3. There is money left in it, and I am not a minor. Does the account not go to me? In addition to other comments, 529s don't work like this. Some other accounts do, like Utma's A529 is just a regular investment account, with the added benefit that if the money is used for educational purposes, you don't have to pay taxes on gains when you make withdrawals, but apart from that, it's just an investment account. Your dad owned it, and could have put anybody he wanted as the beneficiary. Commenter 4. This is correct. Think of it as an investment account that has tax benefits if the person that established it uses it for a certain purpose. To open it, the person has to designate a student who will benefit, but they are allowed to change the student at any time. These accounts typically give the owner the ability to name a successor to manage the account if the beneficiary is a minor, like a parent named by a grandparent, and also the ability to leave the account to the named student if they are an adult. The most likely situation here is that you are named as the beneficiary student, and Bill maybe was named as an adult to manage the account if you were a minor when your dad died. Reach out the bank yourself, preferably with letters testamentary in hand. If you are the named student, and you were named as the owner on your dad's death, you shouldn't need more than proving your identity. Reply: thank you very much to both of you. This is what I was looking for. I find it very unlikely that Bill would have been named the beneficiary, considering that I had been the beneficiary of the account only 6 months previously. I imagine that, if anything, Bill was probably named as the successor on the account. I'll try to get in contact with CS and the estate lawyer in the coming days. Schwab has already been sent letters testamentary, etc., and my dad's IRA has already been given to me, so I'm hoping they should be able to clear up where this money is supposed to go. If the account really does go to Bill, I'd at least prefer to give them the information directly over giving it to Bill. Stories number 22. Aita. For telling my husband to not bring his sick ex to our house and not get personally involved in nursing. So I am 35F, and my husband is 39M. We have been married for 5 years. Before marrying to me, he was with his high school sweetheart for a decade. Apparently they had compatibility issues and then lost contact. Now his ex has got a kidney failure and is on dialysis and has come in our city for treatment. And according my husband, she contacted my husband through a mutual friend, and now my husband wants to help her. Very politely I had asked my husband, does she not have her own people to help and nurse her? Why contact him all of a sudden after years? My husband was pissed and said, how can I be so petty and I'm mature regarding a patient asking such stupid questions and that he expects better from me? Then I said, if the situation is so dire, then let's get her a place in our flat in other locality. And if you are so adamant, then let's finance her nursing facility. What is need of getting personally involved like a nurse, and that I don't want to get involved in personally nursing his ex or in her medical recovery process in person, nor do I want to go to see her in hospital with him. And my husband said he is just disappointed in me that I am showing jealousy over a long-ended relationship and cannot show maturity even with a patient. So Aita, guys, some people are accusing me of lying and copying. I will give you the screenshot of nursing home visitation slip. Please tell me how to upload pictures. Comments. Commenter 1 NTA. This is not jealousy. It sounds like he wants to be the hero and take her in, but do none of the actual work. Also, it is inappropriate. This is his ex and they don't even know each other anymore. I would die on this hill if he brings her to your home against your will. You should leave to stay with family or friends. I bet he gets a nurse or gets her out real quick when he has to do the caretaking. Commenter 2, your husband wouldn't be so quick to volunteer if he actually understood how involved dialysis can be, especially peritoneal, and was the one involved. In the day-to-day caretaking, hubby voluntold OP she was going to be responsible and then acts surprised when she disagrees. So typical. Commenter 3, caring is one thing and caretaking quite another. Once he starts to help, it is quite possible that her needs will increase. It is also important to consider that her condition may be long-lasting. NTA. Commenter 4. I feel the ex is trying to find a kidney donor. Reply. Not really, she has a donor, and if she wished she could have got some other shelter, but I don't know why she had to come in my life. Commenter 5, she may want him back and vice versa. You'd be the third wheel in your own home and marriage update. I tried to have another conversation with my husband, and my parents are soon visiting my house. But I don't think we have made any progress. I talked pretty politely that it is very unfair to me and my boys. I have 2 3-year-old twins that he is willing to be an emotional support tool to an ex, and is so hell-bent to be at her side. Caring about acquaintances is a different thing. But issuing things like being an emotional support tool, caretaker, all this should be exclusive to one's spouse. And issuing it to any third party, even if it is a platonic female friend, will be the foundation stone of an emotional affair. Let alone issuing it to an ex. He told me that it is tragic that I don't trust him even after being together for 9 years. We dated for 4 years, have been married for 5, and accusing him of having an affair. It is natural for people to care about their loved ones. Acquaintances, especially when they are sick, and being an emotional support tool. Being a caretaker, being at one's people's side is the bare minimum one can do and does not automatically translate into an emotional affair, and it is sad that I am so narrow-minded that I am taking offense in him being personally involved with his ex. Ideally, I too should have volunteered to help his ex, visited her, consoled her, shown some empathy instead of being an insecure person. I said, I am not negating the fact that we should help a sick person and we get nurses and doctors involved and assist financially. But you offering emotional intimacy to her does not go down my throat. He once again said, tossing just money to a sick person is so cold-hearted on my part, and a patient needs to see that people are available for her. To which I said I am not obliged to be available for her, nor are you. Nobody will blame you for not taking responsibility of your ex's life troubles. He cut me in between and said what a selfish take, and how he will be selfish to not respond properly to a person asking help. Clive, one of my twins, woke up and our conversation ended. Comments. Commenter 1. I don't see this ending well at all. Reply. Me too. I can sense myself getting divorced. Commenter 2. You should ask him if he'll be willing to provide the same support to you once you're his ex too. Commenter 3. I'm so sorry. Your marriage has already ended, and all that is left is the paperwork and court decree. What your STBX expects you to accept is an intrusion into your marriage so far and deep. There is no rationalizing it whatsoever. It is pretty transparent and quite obvious to everyone that he has chosen this woman over his family. There's no getting around it. Start getting all your finances arranged, so he cannot spend money that should be family money on this woman. Get all your ducks in a tidy row and contract with a good divorce lawyer. Take every cent and asset you can wring out of him while he continues to try and gaslight you about this situation. Reply. What is funny is that my house is entirely my property, not a joint asset. And he had audacity to suggest he will move his ex in. A handful of our finances are entangled like health insurance investments, that I am disentangle. Meanwhile, I will give my marriage a last chance. Update. It has been 1 week since I first made that post here. And it feels as if centuries have passed in mere 7 days. A lot has happened, and I feel a kind of numb and dumb. So as most of you expected, my husband and I are getting divorced. His ex, who has kidney failure and is on dialysis, did not reach out only because she needed help. She reached out because she wanted him back. Her illness is real, but her intentions were not. She eventually admitted that to me directly, and she was quite blatant in this regard. Maybe her illness has made her irritable and scornful, but that is how it was right now. I feel strangely calm. It is not unexpected, but I am still unable to process that a man can leave a relationship of 1 decade with 2 kids. We dated for 4 years, have been married for 5, and have 2 twins who are 3-year-olds like this with 0 visible regret. My parents are with me, helping me stay steady for my twin boys who just turned 3. They are too young to understand what is happening, but they keep me grounded after everything came to light. My husband admitted that she was the one who ended their relationship years ago because she thought he lacked drive and stability. He never really got over her, seeing her again. Fragile, vulnerable, and remorseful, reopened old feelings he had never dealt with. And in my mind I was like, jerk, you could have admitted it from day one instead of gaslighting me, but I guess I was just speechless there. I actually met her by coincidence 3 days ago. My husband had been visiting the hospital frequently, and one afternoon he forgot his insurance file, which also contained some of our joint investment papers. Since I was disentangling things from him in background while waiting for my parents to come and giving my marriage a last chance, I had gone to collect it from the administrative office at the dialysis unit. The dialysis unit was tucked in a quieter wing, separated from the main outpatient block. outside the renal chamber waiting area was attached. I was standing there waiting for the administrative officer to bring out the insurance file when she appeared with a nurse. She recognized me right away, and before I could even introduce myself and told the nurse to give us room for a moment, the nurse was hesitant in leaving an immunocompromised person, but she insisted on a couple of minutes of privacy, and then she asked me, "You are me husband's name wife, right?" I swear to God, I have not met this woman for once, so I don't know how she recognized me in a glance. I said, "Yeah." She asked me to sit down for a moment, and then she said, "I was planning to bring this up gradually to you, but it is better we met here. I guess today or tomorrow you have to know this. There ain't any use beating around the bush. So I will straight come on the point. I know you probably think I'm intruding, but I never stopped loving him." I was like, what the actual fuck? No way it is real, and in reality she was married to another man for a while who I guess died in some accident, so it is not like she was some cinematic protagonist spending her life single-pinning for my jerk of a husband as she was sounding. I was the one who ended things, and I regret it deeply. I just want to be with him again. Even if it's only for whatever time I have left, I swear to Almighty sitting above 7 heavens, I am not exaggerating a single word. These were her exact words. I left the file counter without saying anything. In the side corridor near the elevator lobby, I would have burst into violent sobs had nurses and other people not been moving there too. When I got home and told my husband what had happened, he did not deny it. He said he could not help how he felt, and that being around her made him realize he still loved her. At this point, I did not think I had anything else to say. I am now a single mother of twin boys, and honestly, I am fine. I earn much more than my husband, and the house we live in is entirely my property. The apartment is in the Southern Academic District, not far from the old university campus where I teach. It is a 3-bedroom flat on the 4th floor of a quiet residential block. I bought it 7 years ago when I was promoted to associate professor, using my savings and part of a research grant I had received for curriculum development. When this all came to light, I asked him to leave, and he did. It was not a dramatic fight. I told him calmly that if his heart was with her, that is where he should go. There is no legal obstacle in it. He had contributed little to the mortgage or maintenance, and the property was always mine. He did try to bring up we are intertwined on other financial fronts, and honestly, even if it is partial entanglement, what complicates things now are the shared investments and educational funds we set up for our twin boys. We have a joint mutual fund account, a children's savings bond, and a small commercial investment in a co-working space near the railway junction. The co-working space investment is another area of dispute. Although the capital came from me, the business registration lists both our names for tax convenience, which was his idea only. Now he is attempting to claim half the profits from the current lease cycle. My lawyer has filed for a forensic accounting review to prove the monetary trail originates from my personal savings. This is looking exhausting in theory only, and there are few more entanglements that will be too much to type, and not to forget the legal proceedings of divorce, which we have not started yet, and not to forget custody stuff. Commenter 1: Wow. The dying ex is a trash human, but your STX is one as well. I guarantee after she dies and he grieves, he will try to crawl back. Fuck that, out of curiosity. Do you guys have mutual friends who are taking his side in all this? Reply: not yet. People outside home are unaware of our divorce yet. We have not started our official splitting process. And we have very less mutual friends, at best acquaintances. I am a pretty private and introvert kind of person, and my entire circle is from my university. Teacher, researcher, students, and his circle is different. I would like to share my reflections and lessons. Emotional infidelity is real. Do not let anyone convince you that being someone else's caretaker or emotional anchor is simply helping. When your partner begins to show up for someone else in ways that belong within your relationship, it becomes emotional cheating. It starts quietly, under the label of compassion, but it erodes trust just as surely as any affair. Illness does not erase boundaries. I have sympathy for anyone who is unwell, but compassion does not mean allowing someone to disregard the limits of your marriage. Being sick does not make a person's motives pure, and pain does not grant them moral permission to cross into another person's life. And just because a person is ill, it does not mean their intentions are pure, or they automatically become nice humans. You can be kind and still say no. I offered fair and humane alternatives, such as arranging professional nursing care and contributing financially. He wanted personal involvement, the kind that blurred emotional lines, and that was never acceptable. Refusing such involvement is not cruelty. It is clarity. Boundaries protect dignity. You can show empathy without surrendering your self-respect. It is not selfish to insist on peace within your own home. The people who call it insecurity often fail to understand that boundaries are the foundation of mutual respect. Affiliation with exes is a danger zone. No matter how many years have passed, feelings can resurface any time. In fact, nostalgia and distance makes things way more of a slippery slope. In my case, it is 1 decade. You cannot stop cheaters from cheating, but you can save yourself from being a pawn who is being played. Stories number 23. AIO for thinking of leaving my boyfriend after he slapped me during an argument. So I 26F have been dating my boyfriend 29M for about 2 years. We've had our ups and downs, but I always felt like we had good communication. That all changed last weekend. We were arguing about something stupid. Honestly, it started because I wanted to leave a party earlier, and he wanted to stay. It escalated in the car on the way home. He started yelling at me for being controlling, and I told him I didn't like being spoken to like that. When we got back to the apartment, I said I was done with the conversation and wanted to sleep it off. That's when he snapped. He grabbed my wrist, and when I tried to pull away, he slapped me across the face. I froze. I was completely shocked. He immediately started apologizing, saying he just lost it, and that it would never happen again. The next morning, he acted like it was no big deal and told me I was being dramatic. I tried to explain how unsafe it made me feel, but he brushed it off, saying it was just one mistake. I keep going back and forth in my head. Part of me thinks if he did it once, he'll do it again. Another part of me wonders if I'm giving up too soon after one terrible night. I know people make mistakes, but this doesn't feel like something I can just forgive and move on from. It feels like a line was crossed that we can't come back from. AIO for considering ending the relationship over this? Top comments. Commenter 1. Nor, you need to leave now. Not only is what he did unforgivable and unjustifiable, but the fact he is now acting like it's no big deal and you're overreacting proves he doesn't think what he did was wrong. He's not sorry about it, and therefore he will have no worries about doing it again, because to him it's no big deal. And then a slap turns into a punch, or grabbing you and shoving you against a wall, or throwing items at you to physically injure you, choking you. It will only escalate and continue to get worse. Plus, this was brought on by a minor disagreement, yet he says he just lost it. He'll be even worse. You have a more serious argument.